I took a month off. Everything was calm and was gone, right? Yeah, that's gotta be what happened. You know, people were probably good and didn't sit and complain to each other and attempt to start another civil war and maybe a civil war within a state. It's fine, right? Right? There's nothing to worry about. Oh crap. Another mass shooting has rocked the country at this point. We are talking about the Catholic school shooting in Minneapolis this morning. That was breaking news yesterday. And a little bit of media coverage on that and how the media covers this because, well, let's just say when it's a white supremacist, we know exactly everything about the shooter as soon as it's happening in real time with a manifesto that gets put out onto every single channel, back channel, and front channel that there is out there. But we'll talk about what happened in Minneapolis, some of the reaction to this, where we go from there, and what we do with this. In other news, California revisits a little bit of a passion project of mine. Yes, before the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting happened, all the way back at the beginning of this channel, the first thing that I was ever going to cover when I made one-off videos, little short topic videos, was an idea of California splitting off into multiple states. Well, now there's another proposal to do that. Now, it's not going to happen. There's absolutely 0% chance that it's going to happen. But we're going to sit down and talk about the proposal and what led up to it, including the redistricting fight that started in Texas, bled off into California, and now every extremely partisan state wants to get in on the fun and try to figure out how to screw everybody else's states. But we'll talk about that, what's happening there, and where we go with that. Another story that stretches back a few weeks. An immigrant, truck driver, makes an illegal U-turn on the highway in Florida, runs off to California, gets some sanctuary status in California, but now has led to a couple of different regulations in the trucking industry, both talking about who can drive truck and get a commercial visa in this country. And, well, basically finding out that nobody can have a commercial visa in this country. But we'll talk about the new regulations that are coming off that, where we go with that, and what we do with this. And another case of couldn't have happened to a better guy. Even though I'm completely against this kind of behavior, and I'm very open about the fact that I'm completely against this sort of behavior. But John Bolton, the war walrus himself, gets raided by the FBI. We'll talk about what's happening with this, where this is actually possibly an appropriate investigation into Mr. Bolton, but why I continue to be against this, because, well, you know, when you start doing partisan stuff for one party, you start doing partisan stuff for everybody and making it okay for everybody, and we'll just all investigate each other into the ground at your taxpayer expense. It is going to be all of this and more, plus a little bit of the anecdote of why you haven't seen this smiling face in the last month over on Contemporary. So strap yourselves in, find a friend, get some breakfast. Come on. It's the most important meal of the day. Hey, listen. And we will see you on the other side of the title card, and we'll be back. This is Contemporary. I probably can't do that impression as well. The small human can do that one really well, but I've got this Adam's apple up here, and I really can't do that well. Good morning. Hi. 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 It's been a while, hasn't it? My name is Jay Edgar. This is Contemporary. Hopefully we get some new listeners in off of this with a little bit of a break coming off this. Some of it's going to be haters, of course, because while I was sitting and waiting for everything to happen in the hospital, which I just spent a month in, I had nothing better to do, so I just started making people mad over on X. So there was a lot of that, and there are probably a lot of people that are in my mentions who are going to see the new video come up that gets announced. By the way, reminder for anybody who is new, the live stream link for this video will be privated as soon as we are done. This will get re-uploaded as a full upload with a little bit of edit for the intro coming out of it. I'll edit some of that out because, it gets lengthy after a little while. As Decca pointed out, there's a video game study lounge off of this, which we don't need to sit and listen to 5 minutes of that. 60 seconds? Yeah, that's appropriate. 5 minutes, we don't need to sit back and do that on the re-upload, but yeah, it's been a month. So we're going to talk about the Minneapolis shooting, the mass shooting that happened there. We will talk a bit about the California redistricting and the Texas redistricting that triggered this, and some of the really, really, really bad takes that came from that, because believe it or not, there were a lot of bad takes on this one. We'll talk about the Indian truck driver in Florida and everything that came out of that. Bolton, of course, obviously. I'm going to talk a bit about the DC takeover of law enforcement and the fact that our president, in his infinite wisdom, that is dripping with sarcasm. I'll put that anecdote after we get done announcing what's coming up here. But that's a new little joke in our house, because apparently Palm cannot read my sarcasm in my voice. But yes, in his infinite wisdom, our great president has decided he's going to send the National Guard into Chicago. And we'll talk a bit about, there's a lot of stuff to go over here. I even want to get into the MSNBC and Cracker Barrel stuff here. Plus, if we can actually keep on task and get done at a decent amount of time, I have a new guilty pleasure, and I'd like to share it with you. Usually when I talk about the media and everything that's been entertaining me, like the TV show, a video game or something, I'll play the 2-minute trailer. Now, if we can get to it and it's not, we're not sitting at a 7-hour stream by the time we get out to the end, I want to share a 10-minute video. Well, it's not a 10-minute video, but it's a clip about 10 minutes from a 2-hour video that I like to listen to, just to kind of show you what I've really been enjoying and what's been keeping me sane this past month. Spoiler alert. People being insane is what's been keeping me sane. But yeah, there's a lot to go over here today. Before we do any of this, and I joked, I said, I wonder if I'm even going to remember how to do this, and then got to the title card and realized that I hadn't set up a song, because I always did song lyrics at the beginning of Contemporary, but I didn't do that. So a few things are a little bit choppy. I might have gone through this entire monologue without my microphone on at this point, because I had the other window, the things I like, things I hate window up over there. Nope, microphone is on and mighty and going. Plus, I didn't have the live chat up here yet. So, yeah, I got our new sub back over on Twitch, so join that. If you guys like, I did get a payout from Twitch while we were gone. That is going to help me out. Just remember, you can use your free Amazon Prime sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free sub every month over on Twitch that you can use over here. Supports the channel, helps me do things, and when I get to $50 banked up in Twitch, they pay me. And it's really, really nice. It's a nice surprise. It's not something I'm expecting, but it's a nice surprise as we go. You guys can go do that. To join over on Rumble, you can give me support directly on Rumble as well. I have no idea how to cash it out, but if I ever figure it out, it'll be a nice little bonus once I get there. So we have that as well. And, well, let's start with this, because I want to come back and just let you guys know where I've been for the last month. I posted it on X with very, very vague details. We had a baby. But it was a tumultuous experience to come back out and have the baby to begin with. So we're going to go all the way back to June at this point to tell you, because I know that some of the quality on this channel has been slipping a little bit too. By the way, let me double check the chat here just to see what we have going on. Palm is here and resubscribed. Thank you for that, even though the money is right from the same household. It still helps. And again, it's a nice little savings account that you don't expect every once in a while. Everyone else got used to J. Edgar being out. Yep. Decca is here. It's J. Dadger. Yes, we'll be talking about that. Good timing with my text message. Decca says, I forgot to use VGSL as background music and it threw me off. Yep, we're doing that. I have not made them mad, but I don't chat in their live chat as much either. Video Game Study Lounge, yep. The tiny human does that impression well, yes. Appreciated the X trolling. Well, thank you. I didn't know you were on X, so, but yeah, it was fun. He showed me some interesting debates, so missed a bunch of what we're talking about. Yep. All right, story time. By the way, I see Quest Fanning is over here too. Good morning, heteros. Yes, we are heteros, I think, for the most part. But we welcome everybody else too, because, you know, I don't really care what it is you do in your bedroom. Full disclosure. If that loses some of my more conservative base off of that, because I'm not open to the lifestyle, but I don't care that you are, then I'm sorry that I lost you, but I'm not going to harp on it either. So, all right, story time. So we are going to go back into late June. We were here, and a couple of the medical issues that are in this house. Palm has a couple of brain issues. They don't affect how she lives life. For the most part, I know people hear brain issue and they first think like, okay, it's a handicapped person. No, she's fully functioning, fully functional. So everything is good on there. But it leads to a lot of headaches and a lot of other things like that. If she wants to put the diagnoses out there, that's on her. She's in the live chat, so that's her part of the story to come back out and tell. But this stuff is out there. It's happened. All the way back in June. Now, throughout the entire pregnancy, from what she was telling me, there was next to no symptoms that she usually gets, which, I mean, for her, and I've known this since I've known her, is a pretty constant headache, and if there's a lot of overexertion, then she can't really get out of bed for about a day, usually, maybe two. So it's more the physical structure than the mental capacity for that. So, I mean, these are things that I knew about coming in. When we got pregnant, a lot of that actually went away for about 7 months. From the way that I understand things, 6-7 months. The headaches were next to non-existent. They were doing great. She actually seemed a lot more energized a lot of the times. This is coming from my side of everything. The last week of June, at about 31 weeks of pregnancy, she started complaining of a pretty major headache and just not going away. And it was something that was out of the ordinary, especially, again, like I had said. The normal, consistent headaches had all but disappeared throughout everything else as well. So she was complaining about that, and she had mentioned possibly getting dizzy throughout the end of the day. Now, I was scheduled actually for a haircut that day, which I was going to reschedule because at the time I didn't have the money to go back and do. We were a little bit tight that particular month. So I was in the process of debating getting that going and rescheduled when she had said that the dizziness had set in, and we had just been in a first-time parenting class where they had talked about the severity of preeclampsia. So when I had heard dizzy, especially, that got me up and moving and said, okay. And she had agreed too. She actually came to me and said, I want to go to the hospital because I've got headache, dizzy. So we went there to get checked for preeclampsia on a day that the emergency room had just happened to be insanely busy on that time too. We were basically shoved off into a linen closet that had been converted into a triage room. That was another story for another time, but we were in well overnight for that. That was on the end of a Thursday. So Contemporary had gone off without a hitch that day. So we went in, got everything checked out. We actually wound up being in the hospital overnight that day, and I had to miss work the next day. They didn't find anything preeclampsia-wise, but they had found symptoms relating to what goes on with Palm's head. So they went down that route. And then the headaches just never went away. We went back in for another round of hospitalization. They were trying to actually throw gestational hypertension at it because under the stress and duress of everything that was happening, she spiked a just absolutely unrealistic blood pressure. Both systolic and hyperstolic were in triple digits that first time. It calmed down later on in that night, but both numbers on the blood pressure were in triple digits, and they are not supposed to be in triple digits. So we get through overnight stay. We actually wound up going and staying overnight on Saturday as well in the hospital for observation. They determined, and she says it's hydrocephalus, so with that comes drain valve that they call a shunt in her head. They had said that was not functioning the way that it was supposed to, most likely due to the abdominal pressure from the baby. So the very, very first indication of what they said was, we need to get baby delivered, so you just need to wait until delivery time, and you need to live with this until delivery time, and we're going to try to do things to try to mitigate the pain. So this goes on, and the headaches were getting harder and harder. They were just never ever stopping, and more severe than the ones that normally happen. Again, the stuff that I was used to throughout the first 8 months of our relationship. So anyway, one of those trips, and you guys all know that I missed Contemporary in the beginning part of July because we had gone to a different hospital for a second opinion further away, and we'd done that late at night on a Wednesday night. And that because of my usual schedule that goes along with my regular work schedule, my 9 to 5 job, which is actually a 7 to 4:30 job, has me getting up regularly between 5 and 6 in the morning, even without an alarm clock. So by the time we got back from that, I'd actually been up for 25 hours, and it was just shortly before Contemporary time, so I had nothing set up, and I just said, you know what, it's been 25 hours, I am going to bed. We will figure out what happens with Contemporary later on that point, because I was, full admission, I was falling asleep on the road trying to get us back home at that point. And she had taken an intravenous steroid in the hospital that had basically wiped her out and made her groggy. She slept the whole way. So it was either me get home or we go to try to find a hotel in a city that we are not familiar with, and essentially I just chose to come back home. Side story on that. I discovered Hostess Donuts double chocolate on that trip, and ooh, those are delicious. Those are amazing. Go to your gas station after Contemporary, your local gas station, and see if you can find the double chocolate Hostess Donuts. Try them, trust me. They're amazing. Anyway, going back to this. So, fast forward now, still we go on a couple more weeks of headache. Our local hospital, the big hospital we have here, I'm not going to say the name on air. If you're at all familiar, just bumped my microphone. If you are at all familiar with the western Wisconsin, southeast Minnesota area, you know what hospital I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say their name on air or the city's on air for that matter, but it's one of the bigger hospitals in the world, just so you know. So from our local hospital, they had done a recommendation to go to the the maternal fetal medicine department in their big hospital, their flagship hospital. So we had that appointment on Tuesday morning, and it was at like 7 in the morning. So we had to leave here at 5. So we ran down there, and almost immediately for pain management, they said, okay, well, you're going to get admitted now. So you're staying in the hospital until you deliver at this point, so we can come back and try to manage the pain. This was on the 22nd of July. So I came back home because it was just the two of us. We weren't expecting to stay there, so we just went. Small Human was in summer school. So she went to summer school. I had some friends of the family take care of her, get her back here when summer school was over, because I knew I wasn't going to be at home right away for that after summer school. So that got taken care of. So I got back. We figured it out, and then I took the Small Human back to the flagship hospital to see her mom. Then we came home. I got her out to summer school. I slept for a little while that day. I tried to get my beard cleaned up, and that didn't work either. But I, for the most part, slept throughout that day. Got a couple things prepared and packed a bag for just in case. I was going to be going back that Wednesday night. That would have been the 23rd. But I wanted to get some, because Palm was in basic tears over the fact that, again, they were ignoring her pain and just not going to do anything. So I was going to sit down and have a talk with the doctors and say, we need to do something else, figure out what's going on with this, because we can't keep living like this. So I had our friends take care of Small Human again, not knowing it was going to be for a month at that point. So went down there with all intents to sit down and have a conference with the doctors and, say, let's do something different because this isn't working the way that we're doing this right now. Got the text message on the way that the next day, that Thursday morning, was going to be the delivery date. I texted Fanning right away to let him know that there was not going to be any contemporary, and no, I did not put it in the Discord. I apologize. I should have put that in the Discord. So, yeah. That day, we got the news that they were going to do the delivery the next day, the very next day. So, I got there. We hugged for a little while. We talked about it. She looked better in demeanor than she had in 2 months at that point. Then I turned around and went back home, packed up a bunch of bags and stuff, and drove back down so we could have the delivery at 7 in the morning, even though it didn't happen until 11. But that's another story for another time. Keeping going on that, now that's usually, even with a cesarean, that's only maybe a couple days, maybe a week's process, and you're out and discharged. Unfortunately, we sat in the situation where the brain issues didn't get better after the fact. The headaches continued. They actually got worse day after day. And I had brought up to the doctors in the postpartum room, and I said, hey, the shunt is here. I know they said it differently. My concern was overdrain at the time. I thought it was draining too much because they had set the setting up to open it up a little bit. It had been basically closed with a little bit of leak through, was the setting that was on for normal use before the pregnancy. And then when the headache started, they opened it up to the next setting open. So with it always being at its nearly closed setting and then now being at the nearly open setting, I thought it was just overdraining and she was having a low pressure issue because, and she told me this after the fact, that she's never ever slurred her words when the issues were going on with the hydrocephalus. She's had headache, dizzy, nausea before, but never the slurring of the words. So I thought this was a completely new thing, and well, it turned out that I was wrong, but still, the doctors had no intention for 2 days to even look at the issue going on with this shunt, this drain valve. So that was Saturday. The delivery happened on Thursday. Friday the headaches started, but they were very dull. By Saturday they were getting severe, and she had been bedridden, like couldn't get out of bed even to go to the bathroom. By Sunday, one of the nurses finally said something, did something, and the rapid response team came in. One CT scan later, that was on Sunday night, and at 10 minutes to 5 on Monday morning, there was an emergency department with a stretcher going to take her to the other hospital in the flagship campus to go have an emergency brain surgery. At the very, 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 very beginning of everything, they kicked people down the list because they were that terrified of what they saw in the CT scan. And I saw the CT scan, and they were right to be terrified. They absolutely were. And then, of course, due to the premature birth of the baby, she had diminished lung capacity at the very, 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 very beginning. So they were working her with oxygen to try to get that lung functioning, going back to where it was going to. But just by stupid luck of the draw, she got a cold in the middle of that, so that held her lung capacity diminished for another week and a half beyond what we normally would have been. Like, we thought we were going to be out of there 1 week, and then another week happened because of the fact that she got a cold, and just basically the oxygen saturation was crashing down to the point where the hospital wasn't willing to let her go. So we were there for 25 days, got home a week ago last Monday, so we've been home for a week and a half at this point. And then by absolute stupid luck, because we should have had contemporary last week, by unbelievable stupid luck, we get home and our internet company actually got bought out by a bigger internet company. And again, I don't want them to drop me for having the wrong politics openly, so I'm not going to say who they are, but it's one that I'm familiar with. It's one that I've been with before. But yeah, they bought out our small local internet company, but because we were gone, they couldn't come and do the changeover and check the equipment and everything else. So yeah, we went for almost a week without internet in the house again, until we finally got somebody to get off his ass, excuse my language, because I don't usually talk like this on Contemporary. But we got someone to get off his ass and come out here and do something about it finally. Pretty much about the time that I started saying the prorate word. The word of, hey, I'm not going to pay for internet service that I don't have. So come back and get off your asses and do something. So that's the, I guess, the truncated version of what happened. I legitimately, and you guys saw it on X when I did my big announcement post, the fact that we were coming home. At the very beginning of all this, when I found out that I had a 5-week early baby and my girlfriend went into an emergency brain surgery, I honestly didn't think that I was bringing either one of them home. I thought that I was going to lose them both. By the grace of God, they're both home, they're both safe, they're both happy, they're both eating really well, all throughout the night. And I do enjoy getting up with them. We're working out our schedule, figuring out how to do work and everything in the house, and when we can work and when Pom can work, because she's work from home. So we're doing really, really well with that. And we're home and we're ready. So that's my story. That's where I've been for the past month. It's been a time. I'm glad that I got to spend the time with my family. One other thing with this, so obviously, I have chosen to put myself out there, even though I don't use my last name on anything, because my parents, my sister have not chosen to have their lives out on the internet. So I've been very careful with the personal information that I've shared on this. And just the same, the people who have been in my house, who I know, who I trust, know my girlfriend's name. The rest of you know her as Pomnuria. Her daughter, our older one, is Small Human, that is going to remain. And the new one, the one that just came in, is codenamed Ed Jr. online. Those of you who have been in my house, who have been in my presence, who I've hung out with before, you all know the real name, but from here out, yes, if we are referring to the new baby, that is Ed Jr. Alright, that was fun, going back and reliving all that. Now let's get into what I was originally here for, because let's go back and do the fun of what happened in Minneapolis and everywhere else. And I just realized, and again, let's figure out if I even remember how to do all this, and I don't have my finance stuff up yet. So let's get that up. Let's get the Dow Jones up here so we can look at what's happening there. That's getting ready to open right now, so we'll talk about that. Looks like that climbed yesterday. It looks like we've had some pretty good gain in the Dow over the last month, because we left at 42 and some change, and we're at 45, 565.23. But let's get started with the news, shall we? Miss Grunts a lot is grunting. Ed Jr. Alright. Let's have a look. Yeah, Palm was in literal tears. I want more of those donuts. I do too. I actually snagged some at the Quick Trip the other day at work because I was really hungry and I didn't get any lunch that particular day. But they didn't have the big bag. They only just had a little teeny tiny roll of like 6. But man, those were good. Your name might as well be Smith. No one will find you even if they did know. Don't put my real last name out there. I'm telling you. Hi, good morning. All right, let's do this. Let's get started. News scene. Live chat is coming up, and we are here. All right, so back on the regular news this morning. On the Dow to start with today. I didn't silence my phone, just so you know. And my alarm clock is going off. Let's take care of that. All right, on the Dow took a sharp turn up yesterday and then took a steady climb throughout the day. It looks like it crashed out a little bit towards the end of the day, but the futures looked back up as well. So the Dow ended yesterday at 45, 565.23, like I said, and we can go back out and stretch out a month. There was a fairly large crash down to 43.5. I feel like it was lower than that too. Let's go back just a little bit more. Back into July. So it would have been a week before that. The 17th would have been the last time we did contemporary. Oh, I guess we were at 44 and some change, but I thought it was lower than that. But yeah, it took a little bit of a dip and then it climbed back up out of this. And you know, every time you see one of these little spike downs, we hear, oh, Donald Trump crashed the economy. It's over. Everybody's going to lose their jobs. The Dow is down. Oh my God, your retirement is gone. And then it just goes back and does that again. Are we at record territory at this point? We are. 52-week high is 45, 757, 84. So yeah, we're at the peak right now. So we'll see what happens with that. It's been going on doing a roller coaster. Let's grab some articles on what's happening with this. Let's see if IBD will let me back in. They were putting themselves behind a paywall for a little while before. Nope, they're in. All right, let's start with IBD. Stock market today. Dow rises after surprise GDP. Jobless claims. Nvidia slides on earnings. Your dog is holding on the fort out here, so it's all good and washed over. Loki loves his baby. Yeah, he does. He's pretty thrilled, I think. All right, this is from Scott Latonin. Futures for the Dow Jones Industrial Average and other major stock indices traded mostly higher Thursday as Wall Street reacted to better than expected second quarter GDP numbers and weekly jobless claims. Meanwhile, Nvidia dropped on the stock market today after the company reported an earnings results. Ahead of the opening, Dow rose 0.1 and the S&P futures were marginally higher. NASDAQ wavered in pre-market trade. So the tech sector looks like that's having some issue, but the industrial side definitely and the financial sector are both pointing in a positive direction as far as this goes. The 10-year Treasury yield ticked lower to 4.23%. Oil prices dipped as West Texas Intermediate futures traded around $64 a barrel. So, hey, we have a chance that gas prices are going to go down. Dude, I was so amazed. We came in the middle of the hospital stay. We actually came back to where Palm used to live before we bought this house, that town. Which is typically usually a little bit higher in gas prices than where we live now. We went back there because she had an appointment for her back that she didn't want to go back and miss. And given everything else that has been going on, I figure it's probably a good thing to go back and get to that appointment. So we drove 4 hours just for this appointment, but we got back and outside of the major hospital hub town, and started seeing gas prices at like $2.72, $2.75, lower than I had seen in a very, 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 very long time. And they came back up after the fact, but we got home, and in our local time, gas had dipped down as far as $2.61. But it was still 3-something in the hospital town. I think it was $2.99 when we left there. But yeah, it was $2.61 here. Yeah, we didn't name that dog. We got him with that name. Well, she got him with that name. She had him when her and I met. But yeah, we did not pick that name. It fits though, I think. Alright, the exchange-traded funds, the Invesco QQQ Trust moved up 0.1%. Also, the SPDR S&P 500 ETF added 0.1% ahead of Thursday's market open. So it does look like people are looking at a rolling along. Could we see 50K in the Dow in the next few days? Possibly. Early Thursday, the Commerce Department said the preliminary second quarter GDP was revised up to 3.3%. This was above estimates that called for a revision to 3.1% from the 3.0% initial report. But again, we've had another quarter of 3% growth. Now, we did have that one quarter of looked like negative growth when the tariffs started to kick in and some of the overseas trade stopped, but it does look like things are starting to truck along. I'm a little bit concerned about the jobs report right now, but we'll see what happens with this. Meanwhile, jobless claims fell more than expected to 229,000 versus 235,000 the previous week. They were expected to ease to 230,000 according to Econo-Day estimates. Now, again, this is initial jobless claims and unemployment claims, so this may get revised out, and some of this does include people who have stopped looking entirely and just given up on the job market. That's always the disclaimer that I have, because like when this is a team sports thing too, when it comes to the way that people talk about the economic numbers. When your team wins and the initial jobless claims, the unemployment claims go down, you come back and say, hey, the economy is fixed, look at all these people going back to work. And then when they go down and your team is not in power, they say, oh, well, this is just people who are giving up. And reality is that it's both. It's the fact that people are either going back to work or people are just dropping off the market. The initial jobless claims, the number that they're giving here, the 229,000, that's a terrible indicator of what the job market is. Even though it's the standard, it's the one that people use most often. All right. Just a little bit of what's going on in the markets right now. Nvidia falls on earnings. Nvidia stock dropped more than 1% on Thursday, even after the company beat expectations for its fiscal second quarter and with its outlook. The Santa Clara, California-based company earned $105 a share on sales of $46.74 billion in the quarter that ended July 27th. Analysts polled by FactSet had expected Nvidia to earn an adjusted $101 a share on sales of $46.05 billion for the year earlier period. Nvidia earned an adjusted 68 cents a share on sales of $30.04 billion. All right, earnings movers: Best Buy, Burlington, CrowdStrike, Dick's, Dollar General, and Five Below all reported yesterday. Also reporting were Ollie's Bargain Outlet, which I've never heard of, Snowflake, Urban Outfitters, and Viva Systems. Best Buy lost more than 3%, while shares of Burlington stores jumped nearly 9%. But we're getting into the cold side of things, so people are buying their coats right now. So CrowdStrike lost nearly 3%, as Dick's Sporting Goods added nearly 1%. Dollar General surged more than 6%, as Five Below rallied near 4%. It's one thing to watch and be concerned about, where the cheap stores, the Dollar General and the $5 and below store, are both rallying right now because, well, people are going in there to find a bargain. So that's going to be one to watch as we go. Ollie's jumped more than 6%. Snowflake leapt more than 13%. I don't know what Snowflake does, obviously. Urban Outfitters sold off nearly 4%. Finally, Viva stock tumbled nearly 4% in pre-market action. So I don't know what three of these are, but Urban Outfitters I know is a higher end store. So people are having less money to go spend in the higher end store. Just some factors to go here. I'm not going to try to give you financial advice. I'm just pointing out trends and what they relate to and everything. On the GDP and jobless claims, let's look at this one, and then we will move on. On the economic front, preliminary second quarter GDP numbers for the Commerce Department and the Labor Department's weekly initial unemployment claims are both due out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So we can probably get those. This is a live updater. GDP is expected to be revised up to show a 3.1% growth rate, which it did, for the second quarter from the 3.0% initial report. Meanwhile, after a surprise 11,000 increase to 235,000 last week, jobless claims are expected to ease out at 230,000, according to Econoday estimates. So we've got some movement in the initial jobless department. So we'll figure out whether or not that is people falling off of the unemployment system or people going back to work. The GDP is in full swing right now. I'm a little concerned about that, but I know that there are also some job openings for people to come back out and do. Palm says he has his moments when his name is fitting. For example, he likes to lick Ed Jr. when he knows he isn't supposed to. Yeah. Just given the fact that she had such a cold in the midst of all this, and the fact that dogs' tongues can be germy, we kind of want to keep him away from the face. I don't mind if he licks her toes or stuff like that. Hands I'm a little bit concerned about as well, but we definitely want to keep him away from the face for a little while. And I don't think he knows his own strength, because he likes to sniff the back of the head, so. And it's just boom, 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 boom. Alright. So, we did my story. We've done the finance. Now we got to go to the dark side of everything here, so. I didn't think we were going to start with a story like this, honestly, but it's here and it's happening, so we have to at this point. Starting with the Associated Press from yesterday, a shooting at a Minneapolis Catholic school kills 2 children, injures 17 people, and oh my God, of course this happens, and now we're having a major debate politically about who's to blame, what's to blame, and where the blame is supposed to go, because the bodies aren't even cold, and we're making this political at this point. All right, from the Associated Press. Steve Karnowski, Mark Van Cleve, and Giovanna Dell'Orto. A shooter opened fire with a rifle on Wednesday morning through the window of a Catholic church in Minneapolis and struck some of the nearly 200 children celebrating Mass during the first week of school. Killing 2 and wounding 17 people in an act of violence the police chief called an absolute incomprehensible. Armed with a rifle, shotgun, and a pistol, even though we've only seen one of those things on the news because the rifle was, of course, scary and black. 23-year-old Robin Westman approached the side of the church and shot dozens of rounds through the window towards the children sitting in the pews during Mass at Annunciation Catholic School just before 8:30 a.m. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara said at a news conference, he said the shooter then died by suicide. Shocker. That's one of the things, and that's, I'm going to stay on the approved mainstream narrative at this point, but that's always been one of the things that's bothered me about a lot of these mass shootings as of late, especially especially when they involve somebody who winds up being trans out of this as well, or somebody who winds up being semi-left-wing at all entirely, is that they're either on a shoot to kill from the police, as we had with the Covenant shooter down in Tennessee, whose manifesto we've never still officially got. I know Crowder leaked a big part of it himself, but we've never officially had a mainstream account of what the manifesto was from that one. But that was out shoot to kill, straight to the head. There's no chance that the shooter's ever going to answer questions. But a lot of these ones, too, they just went out and they did the deed, and then they put the barrel in their mouth and finished out the job. And again, we're in a situation where we're mysteriously never going to be able to ask any questions about motive or anything else. That person's never going to get drug out in front of. Now, we've had a few where they survived and they were able to get drug out, but they're very, very few and far between, especially with these. And the conspiracy part of my mind comes back and looks at this and says, okay, is this somebody who got groomed in a Discord server somewhere? And I know there's already talk about Discord and Reddit and everything else grooming these people to do so. And I bet almost entirely that this shooter was in the same Discord server as the Aurora guy and the Uvalde guy, who just happened to be in the same Discord server and committed their crimes within a couple months of each other? And they happen to be in there with a former FBI agent who just happened to be there. But yes, this person is never going to be able to answer questions again for this. And I think that a lot of this is done by design. The children who died were 8 and 10. F in the chat for the children who died, especially at a Catholic school. Is it left to right or right to left, Palm? You grew up Catholic. You should know. I think it's left to right. Or right to... I'm doing right to left, though. No, I'm doing... Wow. Everything that I have is turned over in my head. It is left to... I'm doing left to right. But F in the chat for the children. 14 others and 3 octogenarian parishioners were wounded but expected to survive, the chief said. So, parishioners in their 80s were the ones. Yeah, we'll be talking about that in just a moment, Decca. Decca's throwing spoilers out at us right now. On Wednesday evening, hundreds prayed and wiped away tears and held each other during a packed vigil at the nearby school's gym, where Governor Tim Walz and Amy Klobuchar, along with the Catholic clergy, joined the mourners. I hope they didn't politicize it. I hope they didn't. They probably did. I haven't seen a news story that they politicized it, so. Archbishop Bernard Hebda talked about the inscription at the front of the Annunciation Church that reads, House of God and Gate of Heaven. Without context, that's kind of dark, I'm not going to lie. How is that such a terrible tragedy could take place in a place that's the house of God and the gate of heaven, he asked. It's unthinkable. Beth Grader Weston Halsney told reporters he ducked for the pews, covered his head, shielded by a friend who was lying on top of him. His friend was hit, he said. I was super scared for him, but I think now he's okay, the 10-year-old said, adding that he was praying for the other hospitalized children and adults. Which I am as well at this point. Halsney's grandfather, Michael Simpson, said the violence during the Mass on the third day of school left him wondering whether God was watching over. I don't know where he is, Simpson said. That is a terrible, terrible fate to have, especially for a Catholic. And I know, by the way, that feeling. When a lot of my life started crashing down around me when I was 25, and I was questioning even whether or not God was watching over me, I do feel like I was being punished at that point by God after a little while, realizing that nobody could have that many bad things happen to them all in a row without divine intervention. But my ex-fiance from before all that happened was also hanging out with a Wiccan girl, so I would not be 100% surprised to find out that somebody put a hex on me for a while as well. But that's irregardless of this. I do know how the loss of faith feels with something like that, and It's a scary thing to have to go through when faith has been something that's been a very, very large part of your life for most of your life at that point for me. And then now you just see hardship after hardship after hardship, and you have to sit back and wonder, where is God? Kevin Smith made a whole movie about that. FBI Director Kash Patel said on X the shooting is being investigated as an act of domestic terrorism and hate crime targeting Catholics. I don't even know that it's that, dude. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm looking at the inscriptions on the rifle, on the mags for the rifle. The guy's written this all in white paint in a hurry. And I don't think it's domestic terrorism against Catholics. I think it's domestic terrorism against conservatives, honestly. O'Hara said the police hadn't found any relationship between the shooter and the church, nor determined a motive behind the bloodshed, the chief said. There's a motive. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The chief said, however, that investigators were examining the social media posts that appeared to show the shooter at the scene. The sheer cruelty and cowardice of firing into a church full of children is absolutely incomprehensible, said O'Hara, who gave the wounded youngsters ages as 6 to 15. He said a wooden plank was placed to barricade some of the side doors and that authorities found a smoke bomb at the scene. On a YouTube channel titled Robin W., the alleged shooter released at least 2 videos before the channel was taken down by the site administrators on Wednesday. And again, they come back and they say that they're doing this because they want to prevent copycats from reading the manifesto to go back out and do this. No, they're doing this because that didn't fit the narrative. Plain and simple. They took that down because they are trying to forward a narrative that it's only white supremacist Christian conservatives that do mass shootings. And anything out there that challenges that narrative needs to be taken down from the internet as fast as possible. Decca says, count it all joy when you face diverse trials and temptations is almost impossible to follow in the moment. Always pray for God's grace to make it through. I would die if my kids did. In one, go away advertisement, the alleged shooter shows a cache of weapons and ammunition, some with such phrases as something I can't say on YouTube without having the FBI knock on my door, so I can't read that one out loud. Those of you watching on the video platform can read it on the screen. Part of the reason I'm not saying it on the video platform, even like I said, I'm on Rumble and everything else, and I would normally not be censored on something like that, but that's the fact that this goes on the audio platform as well, so it'll go without context. And where is your God? That one I can read out loud, but the first one that involves an act of violence and the sitting president of the United States, yeah, let's not just put that soundbite out there, please. A second video shows the alleged shooter pointing to 2 outside the window in what appears to be a drawing of the church and then stabbing it with a long knife. It was unclear when that video was uploaded to the channel. Westman's uncle, former Kentucky state lawmaker Bob Helleringer, said he did not know the accused shooter well and was confounded by the unspeakable tragedy. The police chief said that Westman did not have an extensive known criminal history and is believed to have acted alone. Oh, he is a lone wolf. She. They're trying very, very hard to skip the pronouns too, by the way. They are definitely doing the pronoun game on this one. Federal officials referred to Westman as transgender, and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry decried hatred being directed at our transgender community. Westman's gender identity wasn't clear. Yeah, it was. In 2020, a judge approved a petition signed by Westman's mother asking for a name change from Robert to Robin, saying the petitioner identifies as female and wants her name to reflect that identification. Okay, how is that not clear? Media, Associated Press. Explain to me how that's not clear. I mean, I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to shield transgenderism at this point, but yeah, that I can't do. Bill Beneman, who lives a couple blocks away and has a long attended mass at Annunciation, said he heard as many as 50 shots over as long as 4 minutes. I was shocked, he said. There's no way that could be gunfire, he said. So, that is the initial reporting on the tragedy. Got a couple more on this one, including, yes, some images of the rifle, with phrases that I cannot say on something that's going to go onto the audio platform. From Axios. What we know about the shooting at the Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis, from Tori Van Oot. A shooter opened fire during morning mass at the Catholic school in South Minneapolis Wednesday, killing 2 and injuring 17 others. The 14 children and 3 senior parishioners injured in the attack are expected to survive. News of the attack, which happened just 3 days into the fall semester, reverberated across the country, state, and nation as leaders ranging from Trump to Pope Leo offer condolences to the grieving community. Tim Walz ordered all U.S. and Minnesota flags to fly at half-staff at state buildings to honor the victims of one of the worst acts of gun violence targeting a Minnesota school in decades. O'Hara said the assailant approached from the side of Annunciation during a service marking the first week of school and began firing into the windows. The shooter, identified by authorities as Robin Westman, died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound near the rear of the church. I bet you that self-inflicted wound was to the back of the head. Maybe twice. Oh, we got a bot. I'll let one of my skilled swordsmen take care of that. Remember, mute. Don't block. Don't ban. I'll get him. I'll get him. Alright, let's see. Timeout. There you go. Take 10 minutes, think about what you did. If you're an actual legitimate person, which given the remove the spaces, I contend that you're not, then you can go back and try again in 10 minutes. Otherwise, you'll probably just walk away because you can't spread your spam anymore. Well, should I click the link? Should I see what it is? What is it? Streamboo.com, remove the space. No, we got other stuff to go here. Westman, who has no known criminal history, was armed with a rifle, a pistol, and a shotgun. All 3 guns were lawfully purchased recently, O'Hara said. They always are. They really always are. In a lot of cases, they shouldn't be. That's one of the frustrating things about this, the fact that they shouldn't be. Parkland, that guy was on the FBI radar. Shouldn't have been purchased. This dude, I feel like a more extensive background check would have come back and said, hey, let's do some red flags here. But I don't know. They're being very, very tight-lipped about everything off of this. I know people often say that this guy was probably on the radar, or this chick was on the radar, and then they just were able to go into the gun store and buy a gun anyway. This was a deliberate act of violence against innocent children and other people worshiping, O'Hara said. The sheer cruelty and cowardice of firing into a church full of children is absolutely incomprehensible. By the way, look for a lot more of this before November of next year. O'Hara said authorities are still investigating and searching for a potential motive, though he acknowledged the now-removed video believed to be posted online by the shooter was under review by detectives. Kash Patel said the agency is investigating the attack as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. So that is where Axios is saying this is what we should know. Let's grab one from the Daily Wire. church targeted by trans-identifying shooter asked for prayer during impossible situation. Small-time YouTuber slash Twitch streamer slash Rumble streamer also asks for prayer in this difficult time. From Tim Pierce. A Minneapolis Catholic church and school issued a heartbreaking statement on Wednesday, just hours after 2 students were killed by a trans-identifying gunman. That's weird. I wonder if Daily Wire lifted their own sanction against themselves because I'm a trans shooter. Because usually Ben Shapiro's stuff, he won't mention the name of a mass shooter or a shooting suspect because it gives that person fame. And then they might inspire others to go back out and do this. That has been Daily Wire policy since Parkland. So I'm a little bit surprised to see the shooter's name in this one. Authorities identified the attacker, trans-identifying 23-year-old who went by the name Baba. Don't worry, Ben, I'm trying to keep your rules, even if your reporters are not. Before he began identifying as a woman, Westman attacked the Annunciation Catholic Schools Church in Minneapolis on Wednesday as students attended Mass. We're navigating an impossible situation together at this time. No words can capture what we've gone through, what we're going through, and what we will go through in the coming days and weeks, but we'll navigate this together, an open letter to the Annunciation community said. The letter was signed by the school's principal, Matt DeBoer, and the church's pastor, Father Dennis Zarin. The gunman began shooting into the church from the outside, according to DeBoer and Zarin. And yeah, they're going through a lot of the same stuff that we went through. Westman, this is one that the Associated Press hasn't touched with a 10-foot pole. Westman left behind numerous journal entries, drawings, videos, and other content that reflect many dark thoughts. Some of the messages carried anti-Semitic threats against Jews, such as hold on, I have to see if I can read that. That second one I know I can't read. That is, that's some stuff, I can tell you that. Wow. Let's see if I get banned for this from this soundbite. Anti-Semitic threats against Jews, such as, if I will carry out a racially motivated attack, it will most likely be against filthy Z word that will probably trigger the AI bot on YouTube to come and say something here. And I quote, I hate those entitled penny sniffing, redacted. So that's interesting, the fact that this person's manifesto has so much anti-Semitic stuff in it, and he went and took his anger out at the Catholic Church. Yama! You missed story time, but that's okay. It'll come back on the replay. And I'll send you a link to the replay then as well, so you can catch story time. And we're talking about Minneapolis right now. I spent like a half an hour talking about story time, what happened to me over the last month. I got a little bit emotional, I'm not going to lie. All right, from the New York Post. Again, things that will probably get me flagged on YouTube. Minneapolis shooter ID'd as trans woman, Robin Westman, as apparent manifesto included commit violent act resulting in the death of sitting president. From Joe Marino, Diana Nerosi, and Chris Nessie. Yeah, this chick was nuts. As you can see if you're on the video platform from some of the stuff that was on the rail handguard. The deranged gunman who slaughtered 2 children, injured at least 17 others, has been identified as a transgender woman. As disturbing videos by the shooter shown handwritten manifesto and what I said earlier that I can't say on YouTube. And for the children scrawled on gun mags. Just hours before the massacre, Westman posted a series of twisted videos on YouTube which included a manifesto. Brian O'Hara confirmed at a press conference, which, and again, was just boom, gone as soon as the act happened. Because why wouldn't we want a motive? Because then Brian O'Hara can come back out and say, we don't know what the motive was. We're sorry. In one 20-minute video, which, by the way, thank you to Jeep XLC for linking that in the Discord. So there's images from that video linked in there. And they're actually going to be over here as well. But if you're on the audio platform, you're not going to see them. And I promise you I can't read most of it. Westman flips through the disturbing manifesto. Much of it's written in a homespun code that uses Cyrillic characters and English phonetic words. In the deranged writings, he gleefully fantasizes about being that scary, horrible monster standing over those powerless kids and reverently confesses admiration to Sandy Hook. So this is saying that he went to she, but then 5 years later backed away from that. So probably a little bit of confusion going on with this as well. I don't want to dress girly all the time, but I guess sometimes I really like it. I know I'm not a woman, but I definitely don't feel like a man, he wrote. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. I really like my outfit. I look pretty smart and modest. I think I want to wear something like this for my act of violence. So, Associated Press said they didn't know if the shooter had a connection to the school, per the New York Post. He also goes into great detail about his decision to target Annunciation, where he graduated from grade school in 2017. According to a yearbook obtained by CNN. So, yeah, there appears to be a connection. Again, with all the anti-Semitism in the writings off of this, I don't necessarily understand why the target was a Catholic school, unless, of course, something happened there. Hey, we could get a link of, we could get a link for viewers over on Kick, you guys. Just remove the space. Why don't you take 5 minutes? 2. There you go. If you want to come back after 5 minutes again and actually talk and not throw links in, then that's fine. I mean, I get it. I know that they're bots, so they don't have anything else like that, but I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. His mother, Mary Westman, also worked as a secretary at the school until retiring in 21. I'm feeling good about Annunciation. It seems like a good combo of easy attack form and devastating tragedy, and I want to do more research. I have concerns about finding a large enough group. I want to avoid any parents, but pre- and post-school drop-off, another page reads. So this guy went into this a lot. Maybe I can attack an event at the on-site church, he ominously scribbled. I think attacking a large group of kids coming in from recess is my best plan. Then from there I can go inside and blank, going for as long as I can. So that one's got the N-word on it. So, hey, maybe they can say this person was right-wing and he was racist. Suck on this. Where's your God? Yeah, this person was kind of out there. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I can't read on a YouTube video. Just, again, because I don't want the soundbite out there. I mean, clearly, we're looking at this on the screen and I'm quoting, but you put the soundbite out there, and the next thing you know, you're getting a knock at the door from a nice man in a blue jacket and khakis, with some nice yellow lettering on the back. Becca says, I guarantee you he knows where our God is now and does not like what he's experiencing at the moment. Alright, some of the social media posts that went along with this at the time. This video I'm not going to play with audio because, again, I don't know what it is that this person's going to say. I want to know why Jen Psaki is trending, by the way. We might flip over to that unless it's over here. Because I know that she was trending earlier in relation to what's happening here, but I couldn't see why. Oh, because she got into it with Vance in the midst of it. I'm going to pull my Chrome tab over here for a sec. Jen Psaki says, prayer is not freaking enough. That's red hair bobblehead, by the way. Prayers do not end school shootings. Prayers do not make parents feel safe sending their kids to school. Prayer does not bring these kids back, even with the thoughts and prayers. With Vance quote tweeting and saying, we pray because our hearts are broken. We pray because we know God listens. We pray because we know that God works in mysterious ways and can inspire us to further action. Why do you feel the need to attack people for praying when kids were just killed praying? Of all the weird left-wing culture wars in the last few years, this is by far the most bizarre. How dare you pray for innocent people in the midst of tragedy? Well, and again, that's the narrative of, why are you praying when we should be going out and banning guns? So the government can do this instead of private citizens. But yeah, if you can see on the video portion of this, then yes, this is the video that was posted that Raw's Alerts was able to get a copy of before it got pulled from YouTube, and actually downloaded it, thankfully, or screenshotted it, one of the two, so they could get it posted on X. So that is linked in the Discord. Sponsored by BlackRock, Killer Sadist, this person coming out saying, this dude was a Republican, or confused at most. Because, and like I said at the top of the story, before the bodies were cold, that was the first thing everybody was trying to do, was try to make this into a political issue. I mean, kids are dead. My heart is out for the kids. And I'm not going to let this turn around and be the crux that takes my ability to defend myself, either from people trying to come into my house or the government, away from me. Apparently, and I didn't see this in any of the stories, let's see. Where was it? Somebody had posted in there this guy had green tips. Yep. Where the hell does someone like this get the money to purchase green tip 5.56 rounds? Besides being difficult to find, they're significantly more expensive than just your average range ammunition. I don't know if that was what was used or not, but that's apparently the allegation that's being made. America First post also, the transgender Annunciation School shooting. Shooter Robin Westman uploaded a manifesto to YouTube before his attack. It's since been taken down, with also links to the images that are in here. If you guys want to check that out, that is in the Discord for you. Yeah, you should listen. Don't like using America First post because of their full-out anti-Semitism off of this. Another big leaked image of the manifesto. Link for the Discord is in every outlet. So you guys can go take a look at that when you've got a chance. Reddit lies. Our mass killers deleted this, so I'm uploading it here. Possible images of the alleged Minneapolis Catholic shooter's weapons and gear. This one saying, "Where's your God?" as we mentioned before. Various Cyrillic things. Suck on this. This person had a bunch of guns. There's more. Rip and tear on that one, plus the violent act against a sitting president that I don't want the FBI to soundbite right there. So, bunch of stuff going on with that one. But one of the other things that I wanted to point out before we went on and moved on from this is some of the reaction to this. And again, the problem that I have with this is, number one, the fact that it happened. But the bigger problem that I have with this is it's the politicization about it. I learned about the shooting not from being in the Discord or being terminally online. I just happened to open up X yesterday about the middle of the day. It was actually right before we drove back home. We were about an hour out for an appointment. But I opened up X and I saw this, and I saw it from a Jersey My Wife's Son Reliant post over on X, who had pointed out, as usual, and you can always tell when the shooter is a leftoid or not a white Christian, white supremacist male. Because the first thing that they're all saying is, it's the guns. Stop looking at the shooter, it's the guns. Whereas if it's Dylan Roof or someone like that, or some white supremacist, it's, this is the creeping of white supremacy in America, and we need to look at the guns, but we first need to look at the shooter. And this is what all your shooters are, and this is what everything is. But yes, we have, people like this, people like Canada Hates Trump, trying to paint this on GOP congressmen, including the plant, Marjorie Taylor Greene, making their prayers with blood on their hands. If prayers worked, there would have been a mass shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis. And we have some of the... Now we have this trying to discount my narrative here because they're bringing the right-wing people. Riley Gaines, Andy Ngo, Scott Pressler. But yeah, when I pulled this over to the other side from my Google Chrome window, this was just a wall of, it's all the guns, blame the guns, don't look at the shooter, blame the guns. No, not the shooter, blame the guns, it's the guns, ban all guns. And there still is a lot of that, and that was the top few posts off of this, was it's just the guns. Yep, like this one. Call to Activism, which is a paid blue-check left-wing propaganda account. As we grapple today with the tragedy in Minneapolis that has left 2 children dead and 17 injured, remember this. The shooter did not act alone. He was assisted by 1 president, 219 House members, 53 senators, and the NRA. Because it was the Republicans' fault. Alright, we got a couple more on this. Some of these I'm going to skip just because we've gone over everything with this already that we know of so far. Sources ID, shooter who killed 2, hurt 17 others. FBI is investigating as a hate crime. We know that already. Cash Patel. We're aware of the shooting at the Catholic school in Minnesota. FBI agents are on scene, and we ask everyone to keep potential victims, civilians, or law enforcement in harm's way in your prayers. Updates. The FBI is investigating the shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and hate crime and targeting Catholics. There were 2 fatalities, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. The shooter has been identified. The FBI will continue to provide updates on our ongoing investigation. Somebody here is saying arrest the parents. I don't necessarily know that that is going to be a root cause of the issue as well. The Associated Press, back to them, shooting in Minneapolis is the latest carnage at a U.S. school or college over the past 25 years. No author given. Hundreds of people have died in shootings over the past 25 years in offices, stores, theaters, and other places, but the carnage perhaps hits hardest when it happens in schools and colleges where children and young adults are often the victims. In some cases, the victims are children who still have some of their baby teeth. Others are newly adult students with career and family dreams, and teachers or religious leaders who frequently become role models and mentors to their young students. And then they come back out and point out every school shooting in the last, since 2000 basically. Going back to Columbine actually. And I understand the issue with this and coming back and using this as a political cudgel because, yes, it is insanely tragic when it comes back and happens to kids. But I'm not, again, willing to come back and give up the right to defend myself. Because people like the people who are listed here in this list went out of their minds. So that's where we're at on this. Yeah, some more politicization of it. The first post that I saw of this. Another mass shooting, this one at a Catholic church in Minneapolis. 20 people shot, 2 dead. We're the only so-called developed country in the world with this recurring problems. It is the guns. That right there was exactly how I knew that this was somebody who wasn't a white, straight Christian, white supremacist male. But that's, again, a paid propagandist post, because this one is a known recipient of DNC funds who goes out to go and post this kind of stuff to try to get out ahead of these stories. But that's where I'm at on that. It's like Palm just said too, school shootings are dumb and shouldn't happen, kids are innocent. But I mean, that's a part of the reason that they do it there too. It's for the shock value, because kids are innocent. They put the shock value up so that, you know, it gets out and makes them famous, even if they off themselves in the process of it. And they know they're not going to sit back and face resistance. And they choose schools too, especially like was pointed out in places like Minneapolis with incredibly strict gun laws, because kids are innocent and they're not going to face any sort of backlash from it. I said, and it was an exaggeration when I did, but you know, I started this channel talking about Parkland. I was going to talk about splitting California when I started this channel, but I started this channel talking about Parkland, and it's one of the things that I said was the fact that, I mean, I am old enough to be pre-Columbine at this point, so a lot of the stuff was starting to come down and change when I was in high school, but they they bullied one of my best friends, who I call my brother, into snapping one day, and then they tried to come back and say that he was going to come out and shoot up the school, and I knew that he wasn't, because he was from the kind of family where he was going to have to hope that he didn't make it after the school shooting, because his parents were going to do much worse to him than what the cops would have done if they would have gone in and done so. But, I live in a small town, a small farming community on top of that as well. I'm sure it's probably changed a little bit at this point, but at the time, you could not have done a school shooting at my school. There was no way. We had probably, because there were about 500 students across the entire school, there were probably 75 to 100 cars in the parking lot at any time during school hours. And I know for a fact that at least 25 of those cars had a shotgun or a rifle in them at any given time, because the drivers were cattle farmers. They were cased and unloaded per Wisconsin law, but they were cattle farmers who, there was a distinct possibility they'd be going home to school and have to put down a coyote that was trying to get into the fence with their cows. At any given time in that parking lot, there were 25 vehicles with a firearm of some sort in them, legally, unless it was either April or November, and then it was about 75. And if somebody would have tried to do something that stupid in our high school, all those good old boys would have walked out to their cars and grabbed theirs and started shooting back. That's a big, again, where they choose the Catholic school, because the public one has a bunch of resource officers and cops around it at all times. The Catholic school is supposed to be held to a higher standard, so the kids are better, so they don't need to have a resource officer in there all the time. But it's a soft target. They go to these places like that because they know they're not going to face any sort of pushback. It's a gun-free zone. And I hate the fact that it happens. I do. And again, it's not enough for me to go back and make myself into a soft target for somebody who's not going to follow the law, because, you know what? Possessing a firearm in a school zone and shooting up kids is already against the law. So, that's where I stand on that. I wanted to talk about this California thing because, and again, as I just mentioned, this was what I was supposed to start this channel over. Was the debate over trying to split off California into several, at the time it was several different states. But we're going to start here with this X-post, this tweet from Benny Johnson. Breaking, the Republican leader of the California Assembly is introducing a resolution to split California into 2 states. The people of inland California have been overlooked for too long. It's time for a 2-state solution. I know that there was conversation in the Discord about the entertainment of the fact that they used the term 2-state solution to describe what was going on with California. Thank you, Decca, for that. Our Republican Assembly leader, James Gallagher, plans to unveil the proposal on Wednesday press conference, calling it a response to Newsom's push to redraw congressional maps. A couple things about this before we get into some of the articles that go with this, and where this actually came from to begin with. First off, California complains constantly, and leftoids in general complain constantly about the fact that California only gets 2 senators, even though it has 53 million people in the state. Because the Senate is supposed to represent the interests of the state house to the government, not necessarily the people. Repeal the 17th. What I've understood about this, and when I started in 2018, the conversation was actually talking about making California into 5 states. Because there's enough people and there's enough landmass that it really could be a full 5-state system. make sure that you lump Sacramento, Oakland, San Francisco, and Los Angeles into one of those 5 states, and it'll be just a permanent blue enclave. But yeah, let the rest of it be 5 states, and you'll have 4 of the reddest states in the Union, and one of the bluest ones of all time. But also, if you split it off into 5 states, then you turn around and you solve your solution, or you provide a solution for the, we don't have enough senators to represent our people. We want more senators. We want more people who are solidly blue that get elected from a statewide race. It would solve that problem, except for the fact that this is why they won't come back and do any of this, and why what James Gallagher is proposing is never going anywhere, because they can't guarantee that those newly minted 8 senators are all going to be Democrats. Yeah, you'll get 8 new senators, and you'll have representation more in line with 53 million people. But you can't guarantee they'll all be Democrats. So they want those 10 senators, but they want them to be all done in statewide races. I think it is far time to maybe even start splitting down some of these states, especially some of these big blue states, because realistically, the offenders on the list are places like Illinois, California, New York. I would even say it might be time to split down Florida a little bit, honestly. Just because there's enough people there that representation, especially on the senatorial level, gets hard, and there's enough landmass to it. But if you took, like Illinois is a good example for this. Let me get a map of Illinois up here so I can show you. Let's bring this over here. Let's talk about this one here. For Illinois, if you took the space inside of I-90 here, which comes out, kicks down, and where's my cursor? Comes out, kicks down, and goes out to the Skyway from here. Or even if you went down, if you wanted to be fair about it, make the state line go from 90 to 88 down to 294, and then over to 90 here, and made that its own state. Number one, you would have well enough people for one state. There are more people that live here than live in Wyoming, in this little area here. Maybe even take it a little bit to the outside so you catch Rockford too, but just in this area here that we're looking at right now, going down to cut out Chicago, you'd have the state of Chicago and the rest of the state of Illinois. And you'd have probably an equal amount of people, maybe even more people in the state of Chicago than the state of Illinois. New York by population, that one might be hard just based on the fact that there's not enough landmass in the area, but I mean, you could separate New York City, maybe even lump a little bit of White Plains and New Haven into it, over into Connecticut and New Jersey. Pull Newark as long as you're into it, but pull New York City into its own state, and then have the state of Albany to be upstate New York. And again, you've got more people in the state of New York than you do in what would be the state of, I would say, Albany or Buffalo, maybe, to be upstate. And then you'd have representation for everybody in upstate, especially on the senatorial level. California, obviously. Make a state out of Sacramento, San Francisco, Oakland, and LA, and split the rest of it out. And I mean, there's enough people outside of these areas that you could make at least 2 or 3 other states. I could say you could possibly get to 4. And then there's better representation, there's better land management. Not everything in there is running through Sacramento at that point. I think those are really the only 3 that you could really get away with that on. I don't think that, there's landmass, there's bigger states in landmass wise, but there's nobody there's like 1 million people in all of Montana. 750,000 people in all of Wyoming. Maybe you could do Wisconsin. Maybe. Separate off Madison down to Janesville, Milwaukee down to Kenosha to the state line. And make that the state of Milwaukee. And the rest of it be Wisconsin. Minnesota, I actually don't think you could get away with even. Just because Minneapolis, landmass wise, is so small. Minneapolis, St. Paul is so small. And then, you would have a serious population problem for the rest of Minnesota. But places like New York, California, Illinois, there's a big enough landmass that would make it to be a state in and of itself, and then the rest of it would still have the ability to have states. So I think it's maybe time to start to split off some of these states. I know that East Washington, East Oregon want to go back and join Idaho. Maybe even take some of Northern California with it. Vong is here. Good to see you streaming again. Hope you, Palm Small Human, and Teeny Human are all doing well. We're actually using Ed Jr. as the online code name for Teeny Human. Anyway, back to where we're going with this. We spent enough time talking about the rest of the country's issue with everything. From ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Holy crap, we've already been going for 2 hours. California lawmaker proposes 2-state solution in response to redistricting fight. Amidst a redistricting battle, a California lawmaker is proposing the map be permanently redrawn to split the state in 2. The top Republican in the California State Assembly, Jim Gallagher, has an alternate plan to Gavin Newsom's redistricting plan, which is set to go before voters this November. Which, by the way, we'll be talking about that in and of itself, and I think that's going to fail miserably. Instead of carving up individual congressional districts, Gallagher is proposing to split the state in 2, calling it a 2-state solution. Gallagher's plan would cleave the state into 2 distinct parts, with the bluer coastal communities separated from the more GOP-heavy inland portions of the state. The people of inland have been overlooked for too long, Gallagher said in a news release. It's time for a 2-state solution. According to the news release, his proposed new state would include more than 10 million Californians, putting it in the top 10 most populous states in the U.S. And again, that's part of the reason that I pointed out and said, hey, let's look at places like Illinois and upstate New York, because yes, you would still have a sizable population in those states. You've been going for 2 hours and Ed Jr. has already made messes and got cleaned up. Yeah, babies do that. And that, again, that's where I said maybe not in Minnesota, just because of the fact that there'd only be like 100,000 people outside of the Twin Cities area in Minnesota. Like if you lump the Twin Cities and Rochester together, made that one state, there's like 125,000 people in the rest of Minnesota. KCRA 3 says 2-state solution in California. That idea is back. Which state would you be in? California's Assembly leader, James Gallagher, is pitching an idea for the Golden State which has failed to go anywhere in the past. But with Democrats' push to get a redistricting proposal on the ballot for a special election, The East Nicholas representative is once again pushing the idea of splitting California into two. Like, he is going heavy into the Israel propaganda. Holy crap. Let my people go. GOP leader Gallagher demands new state for inland California. Anybody who's read the Bible knows that quote. Gallagher's resolution would include more than 10 million Californians from Northern California, the Sierra Nevada, as well as the Central Valley and Inland Empire counties. Sacramento, Yolo, and Solano counties would be part of a separate state along with the coastal counties. In a press conference, Gallagher said the action was aimed at serving the forgotten people of California. I think of the trucker in the Inland Empire who's been told he has to get rid of his truck because of the regulations in the state, Gallagher said in one example. Other issues he mentioned were high gas prices, poor water management, and protections for gray wolves that have impacted cattle ranchers. Long says, I'm glad to hear that Loki's taking good care of you. Palm said, just got reminded at the end of the month. Oh, wow. Who skipped summer? Oh, wait, I did. And I was right there with you, though, so. He said representation for the people and then could be completely stripped if voters approve Prop 5-0 to temporarily redraw congressional districts ahead of the midterm elections. Which, and again, that's the point, is to pull the representation just to get more power in the House. Gallagher also compared himself to the biblical figure of Moses during Exodus from Egypt, with Governor Gavin Newsom being the modern-day Pharaoh. That's not the cringiest thing I've ever heard, but it's close. You know, a long time ago, a man went to a great king in a land where his people were being completely oppressed economically, oppressed in many different ways, and he said to that king, let my people go. Well, in kind of the same token, this morning I'm saying, Gavin, let my people go. We would like a better way forward and can no longer abide a government that gives us no voice. So, I don't know. I think it's time to start looking at it, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But the point of it being, of course, that California does want more senators, but they want more statewide. They want more senators that Los Angeles and Oakland can pick. Not necessarily more senators in general that the whole of California can. All right, let's grab one from Politico, moving into why we're even talking about this in the first place. So, while I was gone, Texas, which we'll talk about that in a moment, decided that they wanted to go back and do a redistrict in their state to better represent the people of Texas, was their claim. I think it was a power grab because of the fact that they have the constitutional ability to do so per their constitution, something that California does not have. But to eliminate several of their Democrat seats and turn them Republican. Not eliminate the seats entirely, but redraw the map so that they are more lean red. Which, in and of itself, is often a dangerous proposal, but, I mean, Texas is going to do what Texas is going to do. But that led California to do something which is actually against their constitution. They've got laws and a constitutional amendment that protects them from doing so, but to also try to redistrict their state and eliminate all Republicans. Texas was only going to eliminate 5 Democrats, still leaving 2. California wants to go redistrict their state to eliminate all Republicans from their state, in a way to try to counter GOP fascism. But Texas can do a redistrict in the middle of their term, and California cannot. Now, I don't agree with either state doing this, honestly. I think they should be all waiting until their 10-year mark, as they do. But This is a state constitutional fight, and Texas does not have a provision barring this in their state constitution. California does. And a bunch of other states got on board with this as well. But, I mean, this right here is the most entertaining part of this entire thing. They're going to continue to try to make this a referendum on Trump. Now, as far as I know that the propagandist left-wing accounts are trying to say that Trump ordered... Why can't I think of the governor of Texas' name right offhand? Abbott. So, the prevailing narrative on MSNBC is that Trump ordered Abbott to redistrict Texas to go favor him better in the midterms. I cannot find any document saying that Trump ordered Abbott to do so. That doesn't mean that it's not real. I just can't find any documentation that goes with it. And typically there is some. But yes, they're going to, of course, try to make everything a referendum. I mean, you're going to look at that coming into the midterms as well. They're going to try to make everything a referendum on Trump unless he starts doing insanely well. Then they're going to go back and try to blame something else. But, I mean, people like this Newsom advisor want you to go to the polls angry at the GOP in November of 26. From Will McCarthy. Trump will loom large in the background as Democrats ask voters to approve a new California congressional districts that could help them retake the House, an advisor to Newsom said on Wednesday. Political strategist Jim DeBoo said voter anger and frustration with Trump is evident in internal polling on Prop 50, the voter initiative that will draw new political boundaries in response to the mid-decade redistricting in Texas at the president's request. Still no documentation of this. That will guide how Newsom and Democrats campaign for the measure in the face of well-funded opposition, he said. Or the fact that you actually have Republicans in your state that are realizing that they're not going to have representation anymore. It's not a persuasion campaign, it's a turnout campaign, DeBoo said in Politico's The California Agenda Sacramento Summit. The November ballot measure gives the people the opportunity to be for something that could effectively stop what they hate the most, he said. You know what this whole thing reminds me of? Hold on. First. We are so going to get copyright struck on this, but I don't care. Video. Here's what this reminds me of. When they come back and say, give me more power in order to have my political way.
And the Jedi rebellion has been foiled.
What's happened?
The Chancellor's been elaborating on a plot by the Jedi to overthrow the Senate.
And the remaining Jedi will be hunted down and defeated. The attempt on my life has left me scarred and deformed. But I assure you, my resolve has never been stronger.
I thought this was supposed to be just a speech.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire for a safe and secure society.
That's what a lot of this reminds me of when they come back and say, hey, we put rules in place to protect everybody from an overbearing government. Now, let's vote out these rules temporarily so that we can take care of the evil person that we told you not to like. I don't like it when MAGA does it, and I really don't like it when Newsom does it as well. But that's exactly what it sounds like when they come back and do this. When they talk about, hey, come and vote for this emergency power for us. Because, I mean, that's how the empire started too. And I realize that's fiction, but Senator Palpatine got elected as chancellor by introducing a vote of no confidence in the current chancellor. And then said, hey, we've got this war going on, so grant me emergency power so I can get you an army to protect you. I'm not giving my emergency power back, and now I'm protecting you against the evil Jedi who tried to take my life. Give me more power, and we're going to reorganize this all into a governmental structure that gives me all of the power, instead of having a representation from planets coming to me. That's what this all sounds like to me. I said this to some leftoids over on X, and they got really, really mad, and they tried to tell me that, no, it's actually evil Donald Trump who's like the Empire. And look, the evil people are funding opposition to this thing that I'm trying to do to protect you. So give me the more power, even harder, to go back and protect you. California Democrats responded by placing the measure on the November ballot that would temporarily throw out congressional districts drawn by voter-approved independent redistricting commission. Temporarily, again. That's the problem with this. And yes, this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause. CNN with a report on this one. With Texas and California redistricting, both parties are making a 2026 gamble. Oh, this one's behind a paywall. Let's see if we can fix that. Give me a second. Guess who didn't read? Oh, jeez. I'll do a CAPTCHA before you archive this webpage. Yes, we all know where the buses are. I'm not a robot. Four of them. Ha! Fixed it. Ha, CNN. In redrawing their congressional maps, Democrats in California and Republicans in Texas are making the same bet. Things won't get much worse for them next year's midterm elections than they were in 24. Both states' legislatures last week approved the new maps aimed at adding up to 5 more favorable U.S. House districts for the parties pushing the changes. The Texas GOP's redistricting effort came at Trump's urging. Again, still no documentation of that. But they'll tell you whatever story makes them feel better at night. Alright, let's see. Oh, we got new people in here. Plus Banning came back. Goats and Scars came back. Hi back, I'm Goats. Procrastinating putting the ceiling pack together. We did that already. Yeah, trying to put a ceiling fan into the ceiling in an old house is a little bit fun. Quest, I didn't want to know that. Palpatine didn't dissolve the Imperial Senate until a good few years after the declaration of a new order. That is correct as well. I don't know where the buses are. I hate CAPTCHA. Not sure what I'm going to do about Discord. I got locked out, and the only way to authorize is with a cell phone text. I'd set it up with my non-text work phone. I don't know. We like seeing you in there every once in a while, though, so we hope that you get it fixed. The new maps are not guaranteed. Both face legal challenges, and in California, voters must sign off this fall on overriding the previous maps put in place by the state's Independent Redistricting Commission. If both are in place, they would narrow the list of battleground House districts in the 26 midterms, but both states would still likely see several competitive races, contests where changes to Democratic trends or shifts in Trump's popularity could tip the outcomes. Because again, they're trying to make the entire thing a referendum on Trump. Another wrinkle, turnout in midterms tends to be significantly lower than in presidential years, making it even harder to predict the 26 outcomes. Based on the 24 contest, in which Trump attracted huge numbers of low-propensity voters in the polls. Yes, that is actually a major problem with all of this. When Trump is not on the ballot, people don't turn out. Yeah, the new map has 3 more districts that would have voted for Trump, except for the fact that, again, this time through, Trump is not on the ballot. This could actually wind up massively backfiring on taxes. There's California's 2 maps, the existing map and the proposed one, which, I mean, given what Gavin said, actually was, he said he wanted to get rid of all this too and make this just an entirely all blue state. That's part of the problem, though, with states like California. There's a fly in here, by the way. Like California, Illinois, Maryland is another good one. Colorado's another good one. Where they try to gerrymander more, but they are just tapped out for gerrymandering at this point. They've already done it. They've already got the maximum number of partisan seats that they can get out of these states. And I know Missouri is now looking at doing this. Maryland's trying to redistrict and get more blue seats out of it. And a lot of people like to bring up Mass, which, under a fair system, Mass would have 1 Republican seat, kind of in the region that I used to live in. And then everything else just deep. They might get 2, depending on where they draw the lines around Springfield, between Springfield and Worcester. But there's a big stretch of very, very, very rural Wisconsin-like land between Worcester and Springfield. One of my friends used to live there. Well, we'll see what happens. I actually honestly predict that California's Prop 50 gets shot down. Alright, we gotta move on and grab some other stuff here. We're at 2 hours right now. Plus, says Republicans in Texas are aimed at getting back to representatives. California's trying to get more lopsided. Back in the day in New York City, there was always a threat that if Dems effed up, people would hold their nose and vote for a Republican to fix it. Well, I mean, Giuliani, obviously. Quest is correct. Take a look at the current Texas district maps. See how many of them look like they have multiple sections that aren't even connected. Yeah. Alright, let's talk about the Fed briefly. I got a couple articles on this. A couple other things that I want to make sure I do get to today. Especially the John Bolton things. And this trucker thing. But no, we're not going to sit here till noon either. I am going to skip the Bolton thing, I think. We'll put this on, possibly get another stream in to fix and get the rest of this stuff. Or maybe put it on to the next stream. I don't know. Maybe things will calm down next week and we won't have 5 hours worth of news. In fact, actually, I'm going to skip the Fed chair thing too. Alright, so let's move on to the trucker. From CNN to start with, State Department pauses issuing work visas for commercial truck drivers. From Rebecca Reese and Chris Boyette. The State Department is pausing the issuing of work visas for foreigners looking to become commercial truck drivers in the U.S., Marco Rubio announced on Thursday. We're going to play a video a little bit later on here, and when we do this, I'm going to turn my camera off. I'm going to hunt down this stupid fly. Arvold is here. Welcome. Yeah, next week we won't have 5 hours worth of news. You say that every time you stream. I do. An increasing number of foreign drivers operating large tractor-trailer trucks in the U.S. roads, endangering Americans' lives and undercutting the livelihoods of American truckers, Rubio said in a post on X. The post did not elaborate further on reasons of the move, even though I think we kind of know what the reasons are. It comes after the Department of Transportation said it was investigating a truck driver accused of making an illegal U-turn that caused a wreck and killed 3 people on Florida's Turnpike on August 12th. Federal authorities allege he entered the U.S. illegally. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, obviously we're trying to... the political people are trying to get this politicized as well as they can. Saying that, oh, well, we're 80,000 truckers short and we have a shortage of truckers and what are we going to do? And we can't hire enough people to come back and do this. Well, a part of this is you make the job lucrative to young people. There's a guy in our Discord, his name is Saint, and he was out on the road for years. He saved up a bunch of money. I don't know how he's doing financially now, but saved up a bunch of money because he kept his address at his parents' house, basically lived in his truck for 5 years. So almost no overhead, company truck, and he just saw the entire lower 48 for 5 years. He was talking about moving back here to Wisconsin, but then he got a job down by him, so good on him for that. I thought it'd be cool to get him up here, but good on him for that. But that's part of the problem is with things like trucking, especially, the guidance counselors in our public schools are telling people that, hey, this is a crap job that you don't want because you never want to not be close to your family, you never want to do this, you never want to do that. So if you're a trucker, that means that you're a failure. Now, in the '08 crash, one of my friends at the time, who we've grown apart because of political differences, but her husband actually lost his, I believe he was manufacturing, so he lost his job in the '08 crash. And they were surviving on her small business, which was not going well. I think she's doing okay now, but they were just doing a startup at the time when it happened. So they've got a house and 2 kids trying to live on this income. And I tried to convince him right off the bat, like, dude, go truck. Company truck on top of it. Don't try to be an owner-operator right now, but go company truck. Get your CDL. That was back before you had to go and spend $2,000 on driving school. That's part of the problem too, is it's not lucrative to do this as a young person because you've got to spend $2,000 on a driving school before you can even get into and get hired for your CDL. But yeah, go take your CDL test, go find somebody to practice with. A lot of these companies will train you right now, put you in with somebody and let you go. You won't get paid during that time, but they'll, as long as you've got the permit, they'll come back out and teach you because they're desperate for truckers. And go do that. Yes, of course you have to be away from your wife for a little while, but it's decent income. It's something that almost anybody can do as long as you can back up a trailer. It's something you can do. Now, yes, of course, there have been major hurdles that have been put onto this now to try to make it more lucrative for people to come from overseas and get sponsored to do so, to come and get this truck and not have to pay for it. But when you come back and say you're 80,000 truckers short, and you've got 229,000 people on the unemployment rolls, I get it, not every single one of them can drive a truck, but a lot of them can. Arbolt, I will link you later on to the replay from YouTube from before, because I kind of told the story of where I've been for the last month on there. Once I get it re-uploaded, I'll get the replay link up, because obviously the live stream gets privated at the end of everything. Let's see. Quest says, it's so super racist to put your own people ahead of interlopers, possibly. Yeah, Arbolt makes a good point on that too. Don't spend $2,000 on a CDL, but definitely take out a $100,000 loan and go to college. Wes says, left-wingers are more apt to put politics ahead of people. Lost some friends, thought were solid, and still have plenty of friends, but I'm sad for them. No problem, just glad to see you're doing well. Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of... I'm glad I'm home at this point. But yeah, that's where they're at as far as this goes. And yes, that I think a lot of this right now does have to do with the immigrant trucker out of Florida who did the illegal U-turn. And I've had criticisms too of foreign truckers coming in and taking the American jobs. I'm less opposed to the legal ones coming and doing so, even though yes, it's a big remittance out to their country, but they come in and do it out the legal way. And I've met a lot of them that do so. I've worked at a Volvo dealer before, and that's especially there, Volvo. The guys that come in from out of the country want to go out and buy that brand or drive that brand over everything else. But yeah, they'll come in and get to start what they call the tax-free business. Have a bunch of them live in one apartment that or have their address be set at one apartment that they've never actually been to. And then they just live in their truck for 7 years and they go back to their own country as millionaires. Sell one of their trucks to one of their buddies, and that's how that goes. I have less of an issue with that because, I mean, it's a temporary solution to a long-term problem. Yes, when they go back, they'll bring another one of their people in, but at the point that they're trying to come back and orchestrate that's another job, company job, or even an owner-operator job that could go to an American worker. From the Associated Press, what to know about the visas for foreign truckers and the politics of a deadly Florida crash. TLDR, the Trump administration is evil for using, and racist for using this tragedy to go back and try to forward a political agenda. We'll still read the AP article, but that's basically what the AP article is going to say because it's the Associated Press. From Tim Sullivan and Kathy Busowitz. Marco Rubio announced this week the U.S. will pause issuing work visas to some foreign truck drivers, warning darkly that they're endangering American lives and undercutting the livelihoods of American truckers. See, the problem that I have with them doing this in the wake of this tragedy is they're pausing issuing the visas for legal workers to come and do so. Now again, yes, I would prefer that a lot of these jobs go to living permanent American workers, not people who are going to do a 7-year tax-free business and issue remittances to a country behind the Iron Curtain. But we're having this argument over somebody who was here illegally that didn't have a visa. He provided no details in his 2-sentence post on the social platform X, leaving some of the trucking industry wondering if many drivers would be affected. The short answer is no, but the announcement appeared to be as much about politics as road safety, coming as a deadly Florida crash involving a foreign truck driver became increasingly politicized, with the offices of two ambitious governors battling publicly over the responsibility. Will many drivers be affected? So the ones who are here should be grandfathered in by the way that I understand the order. So once their term is up and their H-1B visa is up and they have to go back home, or their tax-free business runs out and they have to go back home, then yes, they won't be able to be remitted back in or bring in one of their buddies to come back and do the job for them. But it shouldn't affect the ones that are already here. Unless, of course, they can't speak English. That's the other major sticking point issue that's going along with this. The pause is aimed at drivers applying for 3 types of visas, the State Department said Friday, most notably the H-2B visa for temporary workers. Only roughly 1,500 visas for truck drivers were issued in the fiscal year under the program and 1,400 last year, according to Jeff Joseph, president of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. The program has helped offset what many observers see as the persistent shortage of commercial drivers. But H-2B visas are capped for most years at 66,000, with drivers making up only a couple percent of the total. The other 2 visa categories listed by the State Department are the E-2 for people who make substantial investments in a U.S. business, and the EB-3, which is for skilled workers such as healthcare employees, IT professionals, unskilled tradespeople, and electricians. The Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, a trade association representing small business truck drivers, applauded the admin for seeing through the myth of a truck driver shortage and continuing efforts to restore common sense safety standards on our nation's highways. They're literally doing they took our jobs! So, and again, the big issue that I have with this, and I don't necessarily agree with there always being the immigrants coming in and doing the truck driving jobs. I do think that it should be more lucrative and offered more lucrative to American students who are looking, again, even to get a 5-year job to go back and save up a nest egg so they can go to college for something else and maybe pay for it out of pocket. They get some skills, they get to travel, they get to do all this kind of stuff. Is the fact that they're trying to do this on the wake of somebody who didn't have a visa at the time. What about H2? I don't know about that H2. Anyway, let's grab some further information off this one. This is not one of my favorite things. No English, no CDL. Crackdown on truckers speeds up from USA Today. Trevor Hughes reporting. At least 3,000 truckers have been taken off American roads over the past 2 months after they failed mandatory roadside English tests, as the Trump admin gets tougher on commercial drivers nationally. The move has drawn applause from many trucking associations, which say consistent enforcement will improve road safety by ensuring drivers can read roadside signs, including message boards warning of slow traffic ahead or dangerous road conditions. But some critics worry about the potential for improper racial profiling by police. Because of course they are. Because that's the only argument that they have in any of this. Oh, you can't speak English, it's racist! Federal law is clear. A driver who cannot sufficiently read or speak English, our national language, and understand road signs, which, by the way, that's not a national language, but still, that's the language that's used in commerce currently, is unqualified to drive a commercial motor vehicle in America. This common sense standard should have never been abandoned, Sean Duffy said in announcing the new enforcement policy. The top 5 states where drivers have been removed from roads in descending order are Texas, Tennessee, Wyoming, Iowa, and Arizona. Texas has removed nearly 350 drivers from the road per federal statistics. Although some states allow drivers to take the written portion of the commercial driving license test in English or Spanish, truckers must also demonstrate proficiency solely in written and oral English when they take the practical test. Singh, who is a native of India, used a translator to appear in a California court appearance on August 20th. Well, that was for, I think, probably pity points. Here's the reality that I can tell you based on working around the trucking industry, working adjacent to the trucking industry. You need to be able to speak English to drive a commercial vehicle in this country, full stop. It is unsafe for you to do so otherwise. Now, I have never been a stickler for English in the country in any other situation at all. I know a lot of my more conservative friends are, and they think that, yes, you must speak English in order to be here because national language, the language of white people, whatever your reason is behind it. Because I know that we've never had a national language in this country. A lot of people have tried to come out and tell us that we do have a national language. We do not have a national language in this country. But as I mentioned, all of our commerce is done in English. I get annoyed when I find out about the lumpers out there who don't speak any English either, who can't sit and communicate with a trucker who's trying to go back out and get loaded. Because yes, the language of commerce is English. It's the common language. It's the common language around the rest of the world. If you're doing any sort of commerce in Germany, Czechoslovakia, Mexico, Japan, you're dealing with people who speak English. It's the common language around the world that commerce is done in. So yes, if you're going to run 80,000 pounds down the road, be subject to inspections, and have to get your vehicle repaired, for God's sakes, occasionally, in an industry that is largely English-centric to begin with, then yes, you should be able to at least communicate what it is that you need into this, in what you're doing. Have a work calling about an AI coding service in 20 minutes. Arwell, oh no, profiling, good. The lingua franca, the French language, where do the drivers get put? If English is the official language of Singapore and Uganda, it's good enough for America. And all air traffic in Belize, yeah, exactly. Once on the road, truckers are also required to speak and read English during traffic stops and way station checks. The Obama admin suspended enforcement of the English proficiency rule in 2016, which, by the way, that's the other part of this, is that actually used to be the law. Used to be required to speak English in order to be a trucker in here, and the Obama admin suspended that. But the Trump admin reversed the decision as of June 25th, requiring truckers to talk to inspectors without the use of smartphone apps or a translator. The English language rule has been the law for decades, although unevenly enforced. The English language rule also applies to Mexican or Canadian truckers allowed to drive in the U.S. with their own version of a CDL. Trump in March declared English the sole official language of the U.S., though it remains unclear whether he has the legal authority to force states to follow the federal rule. Side note, he does not. So those are the two big changes to the English language and the trucking rules off of this. 3 states are bucking this. 3 states could lose federal funding for defying trucks trucking mandate, from Leaf LeMahieu. And those are California, New Mexico, and Washington. The usual suspects, of course. Where did this come from? Let's start with Fox News. DeSantis, state line won't protect criminal illegal, sends Chuck Norris deputy to nab a fugitive trucker. Florida man Ron DeSantis sent his deputy to California to pick up a fugitive, an illegal immigrant from India who allegedly killed 3 motorists after making an illegal U-turn in his big rig on Florida's turnpike near Port St. Lucie. So, Harjinder Singh made an illegal U-turn on the middle of the road on the Florida Turnpike. That's where this all started from. And killed 3 people in a minivan in doing so. And then fled to California. I don't know if he flew out there or if he just drove his truck somehow all the way across the country with a wrecked trailer to get there. But one way or another, he got to California and wound up getting extradited for this. Singh allegedly utilized a narrow median crossover clearly marked for only emergency vehicles and blocked all northbound lanes in attempting to maneuver, which led to the van slamming into the trailer and being wedged beneath, killing its occupants. Collins, who was appointed lieutenant governor last week after the prior departure of Jeanette Nunez, is a former state senator and wounded veteran from Tampa. Collins flew west on Wednesday afternoon to retrieve Singh. Yeah, that's just terrible carnage off of this. After local authorities in some quarters were found to reportedly be continuing to utilize the law, Williams ordered Utmeyer in July to begin producing regular reports on cases being brought on illegal immigrants-related grounds, according to the Associated Press. Singh attempted to obtain work authorization when he first entered illegally in 2020, but he was rebuffed by the first Trump admin. Mass said earlier Wednesday that the case shows the transportation sector and CDL training centers must be more vigilant in checking on who is driving commercial vehicles on America's highways and tollways. I guess my big question with that is, number 1, did he even have a CDL? And number 2, how did he avoid all the scales? Because he would have been popped at the scale immediately for this. A colloid-like gelatin in a suspension. Port St. Lucie is where the Mets have spring training. Nice. But yeah, that's going to be some changes to this. And by the way, if we do wind up going into a situation, like I said before, where jobs are scarce, you have no other prospects, your job gets eliminated for one reason or another, you should look into at least driving a truck for a year or 2. There are company driver options. There are usually local options where you can be home every night. I'm a big advocate for this because it's something that we always need. Anything that's out there, a truck brought. No, we're not getting into the self-driving thing as much as people are saying. It's going to come eventually, but we're not getting into it that quickly. And you should look into it. And I have resources if you are looking for a job and something like that. Reach out to me privately and we'll see if we can't get you into something like that. Definitely. All right. I think we're going to call this one for right now. We'll finish this out. We'll talk about Chicago and DC. We'll talk a bit about that next week because I'm sure both of those are going to keep going on. Let's call it here for the night, or for the morning rather. Give me a chance to go get some breakfast. Maybe take a leak while we're listening to this other video here. But we're going to do some things that I like, some things that I hate, and we're going to do the rules of acquisition. Now I actually have to sit back and figure out where we were on the rules of acquisition because I've been away from it for a month. Let's see. Mountains of inventory, we did that one. No honor and poverty, we did that one. Yeah, we're on the 108th. Hope doesn't keep the lights on. For those of you not familiar with the segment that we're doing here, the rules of acquisition frame the religion of the fictitious Ferengi race in Star Trek canon. This is a group of 400 rules on how Ferengi conduct commerce with each other and with other species of the galaxy. Every week we read one of these rules. We talk a bit about how it works with modern society, although with Roddenberry being an avowed communist, sometimes it doesn't, and I talk about how it's just a criticism of capitalism, which this one is a real rule that we should be using here. The 108th rule of acquisition, hope doesn't keep the lights on, from the DS9 reference book, The Rules of Acquisition. It's a basic reframing of wish in one hand and crap in the other and see which one fills up faster. Yes, there's a lot of hope out there, and you should have hope for the future, but if you want to change something, if you want to make your life better, and I figured this out during the '08 crash, then you really need to do something about it. You need to proactively change things. Never ever lose your hope, absolutely, but you need to proactively change things in order to make your life better, to do something better. So that is your 108th rule of acquisition. We're gonna do a reversal on what Quest Fanning wants us to do on this one here. So I want to talk just about this, and we're actually going to listen to this story specifically off this one. This has been my guilty pleasure, and this is what's kept me sane through the last month. Is I discovered the second date update from an older radio program out of Seattle, where people, if they got ghosted after going on a first date with somebody, they emailed into this radio program, and the radio program called the person that ghosted and said, "Hey, what went on?" Not telling the person that ghosted that the other person was on the phone the entire time. So I chose this one here. This is, I think, about how long till we get to 4? This is a little bit longer than I thought it was, but this is about a 15-minute segment. I'm actually, while we're doing this, going to step out to the bathroom just briefly, but this is Brook and Jubal's second date update. I can get a link into the Discord. I know there's been one of them already in there for this. They typically run about a 3-hour segment for each video, and they put one out each day, but it's got 10 different stories on it. So we're going to listen to story 3 from this one, and I will step away for just a moment.
Second date update.
We've got Mia on the phone for a second date update today, and Mia says she feels bad about what happened on her date.
Uh-oh.
Now, Mia, the rule is you only have to feel bad if you made them cry. So, did he cry?
No, he didn't cry.
All right, well, then you shouldn't feel bad, okay? Your conscience can be cleared, and you are free to go. You're welcome. Have a good day.
I don't know.
He's kidding.
It sounds like she's about to cry right now. Mia, it's a joke. Sorry, he's being sarcastic.
Not really, though.
Okay.
What'd you do?
Well, listen.
Okay, maybe we should learn more before I jump to conclusions, okay?
I want to know.
Tell
Come
us
on.
about this guy. What's his name?
His name is Steve.
Okay.
Sounds like a crier.
Well, no, he didn't cry. My friends at work actually set me up with him. He works for the company, but on a different floor, so I've actually never met him.
Oh, blind date. I always like to know, how are you feeling going into this blind date? Hopeful? Doubtful?
Oh, I was feeling good. I was excited. You know, it's just been kind of like dry for me, and I was excited to get out there and like meet someone that my friends actually said was really cool, you know?
Okay. Yeah. And were your friends right?
Yeah, he was like really cute, and we were talking at the bar, and I like to just kind of like talk about things right away about relationships. And
That's good to want to talk on a date. That's a positive.
No.
But not everything right away.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Exactly. Are you talking like you just opened it up with like, I have 4 exes. I'm over 3 of them, but 1 still having issues.
Oh, by the way, here's my number.
Yeah.
No, it's just funny, like how people think about relationships, I guess. And
Yeah.
I was asking him, we were talking, and I said, you know, I think that you should always share everything with your partner. Like in healthy relationships, you don't hide anything. You're really open about everything with each other.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah,
Totally.
but not everybody does. I can see why that's an important thing to talk about.
Are you saying you lie, Brooke, in your relationship? Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
So you think everything needs to be shared, no secrets?
Yeah, but then he said that he thinks it's not healthy to share everything, that there should be boundaries and certain things that you don't, that are off limits, basically.
Okay. I can see his point, too. I mean,
Yeah. If it's not important.
how did that sit with you?
I don't agree. I said if you're not sharing everything, then you're hiding something, and that's obviously going to poison the relationship.
Ooh,
You know?
I see.
So
This
wait,
is
did you
already-
guys start out your first date with your first couples argument?
That's what I was
This
gonna
is what
say.
it sounds like.
It wasn't an argument. It was just a spirited discussion, you know?
Sure. You're
we
like,
were-
give me your phone right now. Who are you texting?
I mean, that is a pretty intense way to start off a
Yeah.
date. Like, did things get lighter later?
No.
Oh.
I said, let's test it. And I pointed to a girl across the bar and I said, do you think she's attractive?
Why would you need to know that in a relationship? That is
Yeah.
a terrible question.
You want this date to go badly,
Yeah,
don't
no.
Yeah,
you?
you're like
No,
confronting him.
I just wanted to show him what I was talking about, you know, prove my point. And then he said, I'm not answering that.
Yeah, good choice.
Yeah, way to go, Steve.
How could anyone answer that properly? If he says yes, then you're going to be mad, right? You're going to be jealous. If he says no, then you're going to think he's lying.
Well, no, if he's honest and says yes, she'll say, thank you for being honest.
I don't think so.
Or maybe he says yes, and then the girl comes and joins in on the date, and now it's a party.
Okay,
Hey.
now you're thinking like every other man.
Maybe the date could
Jeffrey.
go even
Yeah.
better.
Honesty pays off.
So what did he say?
Well, he said he wasn't going to answer it. And I told him, well, it's just a test. Let's just see how it plays out. And he was like, fine. Okay. She's a little attractive.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Safe answer.
Did you hit him?
Yeah. Did you hit him?
I said, what do you like about her?
Jeez, come
Why
on.
are you doing this to yourself?
What? Well, he's being so vague. He's not playing by the rules I'm setting up. And he's not being honest.
he's probably just trying to be polite and not offend you by saying that there's this gorgeous woman over there, and he's noticing all these amazing things about her.
I'd rather he be honest and tell me that. That's the whole point I was trying to make. So I nudged him a little bit. I was like, so you probably want to sleep with her, right? Wouldn't you do that, right?
Oh, jeez.
Mia,
Look, I've had your back up to
This doesn't sound like a healthy relationship. This sounds like an unstable relationship already where you're incredibly jealous.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, will you just please shut up and let me finish?
Okay. Okay, finish, Mia.
Okay. So then I said, if you lie to me, Steve, I can tell. I'll be able to tell. So just tell me the truth. And so then he finally admitted, yes, I'd probably sleep with her. And I didn't think he was going to answer and say that. And it honestly, it pissed me off.
Oh, no.
So you asked for the truth and then got pissed at it.
She's trying to set the
Well,
boundaries.
I just didn't think he would answer at least that quick.
Yeah, I know, really rude.
Oh my God.
rude,
Yeah. So is that the end of your date? Like, did you guys continue to hang out? You're pissed at this point. What did you do?
Well, I got kind of quiet, and I mean, he could tell. He said sorry, and I told him it was okay to find someone attractive, but why would you say that you want to sleep with her?
Oh, come
It
on.
is
Because
not
you
your
asked.
fault. You shouldn't have asked the question,
Wait,
Mia.
hold on. This is probably why she feels bad, right?
Oh, my
and that's why she wants to
God.
call
And then
him
you
that.
were like, so you want to marry her too? You want to have babies with her too? You want to open a 401k with her?
Okay, stop being ridiculous right now. This is serious.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah. You're the... Okay.
I'm being ridiculous. Okay.
So what happened next?
I mean, the date fizzled. It was done. I went home, and I mean, I just cried a lot. Not in front of him. I cried at home.
Okay.
And,
All right, Mia.
you know, I just feel bad how, we just paid for our drinks and left, and it was really awkward and weird. And I just feel bad about how everything went down. And I think I freaked him out because now
Yeah.
he's not calling me back.
Okay.
Yeah, you definitely freaked him out.
Are you feeling a little bit of remorse about how this all played out, though?
Yeah, duh. I feel bad, okay? How many times are you going to make me say it? Obviously, that's why I'm calling you guys.
Okay. No,
Yes, Jeff.
you sound remorseful, I guess.
Oh, my God.
I'm just
Told you.
okay. So you want us to call Steve, and you want to just explain or apologize, or
Yeah,
what
what-
exactly are you looking to do here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know why he's not calling me back. And also, yeah, explain a little bit and tell him I feel bad and I don't want this to be the end of us.
Okay. And are you like, is your new standpoint that you're not going to ask those type of questions anymore?
Okay, stop asking me stupid questions. Can you just call and try to get me another date? That's why I called you guys.
All
All
right.
we
Yes.
want is
Okay.
honesty, guys.
No more
Yeah.
questions. We're
Let's
just
go.
gonna play a song. We'll
this
come
is a
back.
mess.
We'll call Steve, and we'll try and get you a second date update.
Great.
Okay. Here we go. Hold on. If you're just tuning in for today's second date update, we've got Mia on the phone, and Mia is feeling regretful about how her first date played out.
Yeah. It's questionable, but okay.
I'm hesitant to even recap it because I'm afraid I'm going to say it wrong and
Yeah.
it'll make her mad. But the sticking point that happened on the actual date is the question, should you be honest and share everything with your significant other?
Absolutely everything.
That snowballed out of control.
Because her date Steve thought that some things need to be kept private in a relationship, but Mia
I kinda
disagrees.
do like the
and
commentary
think
about
you
this
should always be 100%
too, but,
honest.
I
So
mean,
she
the
tested that
best part is
theory
them
by
just
asking
being
her date
crazy.
point blank if he would sleep with a lady
Oh, God.
sitting across the bar from them. And poor Steve gave in and said yes.
Yeah.
Well, he was asked to be honest,
Yeah,
right?
Well, that honest answer was a little too honest for Mia. And now here we are. Hard feelings on both sides. And Mia has said in her own special way that she feels remorse and she wants to make things right with Steve again. So, Mia, what do you think? Was that recap accurate?
I mean, I guess those were the facts, but I don't really like your tone, guys. I feel like you're not really on my side, or
I'm
somehow
on your
making fun of me.
side. I'm trying.
I'm going to say, I am having a hard time, Mia. And I'll tell you why. It's not because I don't think that honesty is great. I just think that you're asking questions that don't matter in a relationship. Like, it doesn't matter if he's attracted to another woman. What matters is he's with you.
I guess that's your opinion. I disagree, and it matters to me. So you don't know my life. You don't know how I feel about things or what I've gone through. So maybe that works for you, but not for me.
I want to apologize,
Healthy
Mia, on behalf of
relationship.
Brooke.
I
She
don't
is
know.
just in
I
a really
don't-
crabby
Brooke,
mood
I'm
today.
not crabby.
She gets
I'm
really
just
upset
trying to-
whenever she hears people that sound like they're really in love and
That
that they
is
actually have a
not
chance, and she
true.
gets really jealous and lashes out. So
Yes,
that's probably
I'm
where
the
it's coming
jealous one.
from.
You're
So,
right.
Brooke,
Yeah.
where's the apology?
I'm not apologizing.
Okay.
But Mia,
wow.
you know what?
Sorry, Mia. I
hope
apologize.
through all this that we all learn something together, okay? I think that should be the goal right here.
Okay, can we just stop talking about it and call him?
Okay.
right.
Sorry, we have to recap.
Okay.
It's radio.
I'm just going to dial the phone up right now. Here we go.
Just hurry
Why
up.
are we even part of this?
Hello?
Hi, can I speak to Steve, please?
Yeah, speaking.
Hey, Steve. My name's Young Jeffrey from the radio. You have a minute to talk with us?
The radio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's still a thing.
FM, frequency modulated.
Did I win something?
No, not really. I'm calling because we do a segment on our show called a second date update. That's where if you go out on a date with someone and afterwards they're not calling you back, you can email us and we'll try and get a hold of them to figure out why.
Okay.
And so you recently went out on a date with a woman named Mia.
Yeah.
You're right, Steve. I don't think there's a lot of mystery in why you're not calling her back.
She's calling a radio show to ask me if I went out with her.
No, she knows that you guys went out and she recognizes that maybe things didn't play out quite the way she had hoped.
I don't know what she told you, but I do not mind talking about this publicly. The date was weird, man.
What specifically was weird to you about it?
Well, I mean, at first it was fine. She is attractive, and I had coworkers trying to set us up, so it was like, okay, if my friends like her, she's got to be cool, right?
Right.
So we're sitting at the bar, and she sees this girl, and she pressures me into admitting that the other girl is hot. And I kept trying to back off, being like, no, I don't want to do that. And finally, she just wouldn't let it go. So just out of pure frustration, I just went, yeah, I'd sleep with her.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. We heard that didn't sit well with her either. That
Well,
although she
no,
said
I
she
mean-
wanted the truth, she didn't really.
and I'm not that kind of guy, and I felt really bad.
Yeah.
Because I could tell it hurt her feelings. So I tried to make it better. It did not work. The date kind of fizzled out, and I was like, maybe I'm thinking about this the wrong way. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought. So I was honestly planning on calling her back until I got to work.
Oh my God. You are a much bigger person than I think most people would have been in your situation.
Yeah, sometimes
mature.
those fiery girls kind of excite a guy.
Okay. Well,
He's right.
Yeah, it was,
I think
guess
that's
it
what
was kinda
Arnold
like
just
that,
said,
but I
too.
also just didn't want to base it on one date. Maybe she just had
Okay.
a bad day or something.
right.
Dude, that's
That's good. You're very
mature.
open-minded.
And
But
you got really bad luck, like sitting across from this gorgeous woman. Like maybe if she had pointed to an ugly girl, you would have been inclined to say no.
Mia's very pretty. Like, I wasn't trying to say this girl was more attractive than her, but I mean, she just wouldn't let it go.
right,
okay.
right. But you said it changed at work. What happened at work?
Yeah, because one of our mutual friends comes up to me at work and goes, dude, I heard what you said. Why would you do that? And I went, what are you talking about? And he goes, you told Mia to her face that you wanted to go sleep with another girl at the bar.
Oh, dude.
She did not twist it like that.
This is
Oh,
like...
she she absolutely did, or at least my friend thought she did. So I go, hey, she asked me to do that. She wouldn't let it go. And then all these other people at the office are giving me weird looks. Like, I don't know, can I curse on the radio? Because I'm a little frustrated now that I'm back into it. Because I felt like an asshole. And, like, that's what she asked me to say.
Right. No, she told us. Like, I told her, I was like, yo, there is no way any person should ever ask another person in a relationship if you'd sleep with somebody else. Like, you're never going to like the answer.
And we weren't in a relationship. It was the first date.
Right.
Well, we obviously have a lot of differing opinions here. I think we all need to get on the same page.
Okay.
The only way to do that is to let you know, Steve, that Mia has been on the phone listening this entire time.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, she wants to talk to you. Mia?
Steve, hi. I'm sorry. I just don't know why you're so upset about this.
I'm sorry, guys. I cannot believe this. I mean, really, honestly, though, at this point, it shouldn't surprise me. I mean, listen, Mia, I will tell you why I'm upset. You made me look like a jerk to everybody at work. Yeah. You didn't tell them everything that happened about how you said people in relationships need to share everything.
Okay, I didn't give them the whole story. I told them exactly what you said to me on the date.
Oh,
did you not say you would sleep with her? You said that, right? I just told them. What was I supposed to say when they asked me what happened or what you said?
You asked me to tell you that.
Mia, are you delusional? I feel like you're living in like this altered reality. Not only did you ask him, you pressured him, and he didn't say, I'm going to go sleep with her tonight.
Yeah.
You said, would you sleep with her, and forced him to answer.
Okay, first of all, shut up. Second of all, I'm talking to Steve and asking him a question and asking him about if he had a problem with something that you clearly do, but we're different people, so let us just figure this out. You didn't have to answer, Steve.
Oh, my God.
I told my friends the truth, and did you want me to lie about what you said? Like, I wasn't going to do that. They said, well, I told them exactly what you said.
She's all about honesty.
But you didn't include the context. You didn't tell them that you made me say it. It's not like I just sat down at the bar and said, hey, my name's Steve. Oh, look at that girl. I'd like to bang her.
Okay, Steve, I don't appreciate you joking about how you wanted to bang that girl, okay? I already feel sorry about it. I already feel bad and already bad about the whole thing, okay? That's why I had them call you.
Hold on, Mia. Can I just, ask you...
No, you can't. I'm talking to Steve.
Okay.
Not just me.
It's not your show.
Yep.
All right.
Mia, you need to relax, okay?
Oh, don't say
Okay,
that.
stop.
No.
That's why I had them call you. Because you said something extremely rude, okay? You know, at least you were being honest, and that's why I'm willing to give you a second chance, okay? That's why I had them call you.
Oh, I'm so grateful.
Yeah, and Mia, what are you saying? I thought this whole thing was because you felt bad about pressuring him into saying that on the date.
I feel bad that it ended that way, but I also want to give him a chance to fix it.
So you're not taking any responsibility.
What would have been a good response from Steve in that scenario? What would you have liked to hear him say?
Well, the best response would have obviously been that he didn't want to sleep with that girl, but he did, and so now I want to figure this out and move forward.
Oh, my God. I feel like you guys are going to spend 45 minutes talking about that stranger that Steve wants to sleep with.
It was a huge chunk of the date, I'm not going to lie. That's why, it was just purely out of frustration just to get the conversation to end. I just went, I'd sleep with her.
Okay, Steve, you're not helping right now, okay? You should just be apologizing for what you put me through. God.
You know what, Mia? I will apologize. I am sorry that my friend set us up on a date.
Oh.
All right. No need to get mean and nasty now, okay?
All right. Well, you know what? If I'm going to be 100% honest, I would sleep with both of them.
I believe
And
that.
I honestly want to know if the two of you would go out on a second date. Steve, what do you say? We'll pay for that date.
Oh, sure.
Awesome. Okay, we'll send you guys out.
No, God, no.
Oh, that was sarcastic? That's so surprising.
You're supposed to be honest, Steve, no matter what.
Hey, Mia, listen, you sound like you could be a rad girl, and you sound beautiful, and you need to stop being so insecure, okay?
I'm not insecure. Stop patronizing me, you
Wow, you know what?
seriously.
You know what, guys? Can I just
Clearly
say
don't
one
get it,
thing
and I
real
don't want
quick?
you to weigh in any more on this, Brooke, okay? Just leave.
I have a headache.
Sorry,
Guys,
bro.
I just want to tell you, I am so happy that this is on the radio because all of our friends at work can now hear why things didn't work out.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
And they all know, Steve, that you would totally sleep with that woman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they all know that you would sleep with someone else on a date when you're on a date with your coworker.
Okay.
Stop, Mia.
There are thousands of those, by the way. I've I mean, I have only scratched the surface of them, and I've been listening to them on and off for a month. When Pam was in the hospital, because she was in a different building than Ed Jr. was, when I was walking back and forth between the hospitals or the place that we were staying, I would just throw my headphone in and listen to that kind of stuff. And, like, there's hundreds of these videos with 10, 9, 7, 11 different stories from there on this. I mean, these go back. We were listening to one yesterday in the car to 2015. These go back that far. So they've been doing these. There is no shortage of entertainment from them. There was a wholesome one that I posted in the Discord when I first discovered it all. The first one of the extended videos, because I've seen these as shorts on Instagram, and that's what got me to find the YouTube channel with it. But yeah, it's there are hundreds of them. Some of them repeat. Like, there were 2 on the one that we listened to yesterday while we were going back and forth to Palm's appointment that I had heard before in previous videos. But most of them are hilarious. They are just... It's worth it to get through some of them. Decca says, sarcasm detector, that's a real useful invention. Explodes. No, I am not going to answer that question. Depending on how our day had gone before, I might answer the attractive question, but not the sleep with question. That's just... No, that is not an intelligent thing to do. Alright, let's do some more things that I like. You can already taste breakfast. I'm going to have oatmeal, because I haven't had oatmeal yet this week. And with Sundays being a work day, I don't have a regular good oatmeal day anymore. Alright, from the Daily Wire. Trump plans to make Cold War era plutonium available for nuclear power. Yes, I love this idea. This came to the Daily Wire from Reuters. The Trump admin plans to make available about 20 metric tons of Cold War era plutonium from dismantled nuclear warheads to U.S. power companies as a potential fuel for reactors, according to the source familiar with the matter and a draft memo outlining the plan. I will fully admit, I do not know enough about nuclear energy because I didn't take the time to learn that, to know how effective of a fuel plutonium is going to be for a nuclear power plant. I remember some of the older ones ran on that, and they'll have the ability to do so with a fair amount of refining. I think there's a bunch to do to get it from weapons grade down to energy grade. I know most of our stuff now runs on uranium, partially because it's so abundant and partially because it is so energy dense. But to be able to dismantle some of this stuff, get it out of the hands where it could be stolen by a terrorist or a private citizen or anything else, or fall into the wrong hands and go off accidentally, or to actually be able to get this and recycle this, I love this. And yes, I am always an advocate for more nuclear power. 100%. I love that idea of going with more nuclear power. Plutonium has previously only been converted to fuel for commercial U.S. reactors in short-lived tests. The plan would follow through on an executive order signed by Trump in May ordering the government to halt much of its existing program to dilute and dispose of surplus plutonium, instead providing it as a fuel for its advanced nuclear technologies. Plus, you can also use it to make the 1.21 gigawatt electrical charge needed to jump to the past or future through the flux capacitor. As long as you give it to somebody, give somebody in exchange a bomb casing filled with used pinball parts. The plutonium would be offered to the industry at little to no cost. With a catch, industry will be responsible for costs of transportation, designing, building, and decommissioning DOE-authorized facilities to recycle, process, and manufacture the fuel, the memo said. So yes, that is unfortunately the drawback to this, like if they were given the plutonium at little to no cost, we could get almost free energy out of the thing. Except for, yes, we have to figure out how to get it to its destination and recycle it. So they have to build the buildings, recycle it, get it there, decommission it, etc., etc., etc. And they have to do that at cost. So that's probably going to be enough to make that competitive cost-wise with coal. But still, regardless, I do think it's a good idea. Other things that I like: tariffs could reduce the U.S. deficit by $4 trillion, CBO estimates. This could be a double-edged sword. Because, yes, I appreciate the fact that we're going to go back and reduce the deficit using tariffs and not a direct income tax, even though all of our left-wing propagandist friends tell us that we are going to be the ones who are paying the tariffs, even if the market won't allow for that. Because if it sits on the shelf, then the company pays all the tariffs anyway, not the customer. And they're saying it could reduce the national deficit, but then the problem with that is we have to make sure that we don't go back and spend that national deficit back up, which the Trump administration, at least in its first term, liked to do. So I have some wary optimism off of this. I do. I hope that we do this. Last one on things that I like, before I move on to some things that I hate. Doing this backwards this time. From AOL. Yeah, I bet you didn't realize that they were still doing news. This is, I mean, the way the headline is a thing that I hate, which makes a good transition into things that I hate. But realistically, outright, this is a thing that I like because, you know, this is people not waiting on the government to come and protect them and making an attempt to protect themselves. Even if the government of the UK turns around and takes their protection back away. Scotland police charge teen girl seen in viral alleged attempted migrant assault. From Wallace White. And this is from the Daily Caller, so keep that in mind. Police in Scotland have charged a 14-year-old girl who was seen on video brandishing an axe and a knife while allegedly defending herself and her sister from 2 migrants, the police confirmed to the Daily Caller News Foundation on Tuesday. In a viral video with nearly 40 million views on X reportedly connected to the arrest, 2 girls can be seen shouting back and forth with at least 2 alleged migrant men who allegedly attempted to assault one of the girls, with the 2 pleading for the men to leave them alone, while one brandished an axe and a large knife. Now, I'm sure the Daily Wire would have had the video on this, but they had this behind a paywall. Police arrived on the scene after the incident to make the arrest, but did not charge any of the men in the video, police told the DCNF. Around 7:40 p.m. on Saturday, 23rd August 2025, we received a report of a female youth with a weapon in St. Anne Lane, Dundee. Officers attended, and a 14-year-old girl was charged in connection. Police in Scotland spokesperson told the DCNF in a statement. She will be reported to the relevant authorities. The other, god damn it. Who let the fucking fly in here? Excuse my language. The other girl can be heard on the video repeatedly telling the men not to touch her sister while the men continued to film the pair. The exact details regarding the incident are not fully known. Here's the thing, and yes, it sucks that the government is coming out and making the arrest on somebody who was just trying to defend themselves, but yes, the government is not going to come and protect you. Especially if they have a political motive in one way or another to do so. It is on you to defend yourself. It's not right. And yes, if you know that even at 14, you are better off than a lot of other people out there. So will Palm approve you getting a bug assault gun? I would like that. I've seen them around the sporting goods stores. They're not... I think my brother-in-law sells those too, so... We haven't had to deal with that much this year, fortunately. So, having it happen for like the first time all year just gets insanely annoying. But this has been a relatively, even though we live in a rural town, bug-free year for the most part. I'm used to it being a lot worse. So good on these girls for trying to defend themselves, and I hope that the Scottish government gets their heads out of their rears and drops these charges. Alright, a couple things that I hate, then we'll head out of here. Because I can taste my oatmeal already. Alright, in Houston, which we've got the story that goes with this. Let's look at the story first, then we'll look at the reason that I put this on the things that I hate. Because again, homeowner coming back out and protecting himself is usually on the things that I like. But the fact that they turned around and politicized one of the oldest scams in the book, trying to make this, it's a Trump fault! That's why. From ABC 13 Eyewitness News, 2 suspects shot and killed after allegedly impersonating officers in Southeast Houston home invasion, HPD says. The Houston Police Department investigating a fatal shooting involving alleged police impersonators and an attempted home invasion in Southeast Houston overnight, according to officials. It happened at around Friday, 11 p.m. in the 4800 block of Bell Knoll. Officials said the suspects arrived and allegedly stated they were there to serve a warrant and were seen wearing bulletproof vests, ski masks, and badges around their necks. At one point, they tried to force their way in and open fire through the front door, causing the homeowners to shoot back, officials said. Because why would you do that in Texas, where there's at least a 70% chance that you're going to wind up deceased over it? HPD said the homeowners were not injured, but did hit both suspects. Both were pronounced dead at the scene. The homeowners spoke with police, and they thought it was unusual that they didn't hear sirens or see police cars once the suspects showed up. In an update, HPD noted that there was a child inside the home at the time, but they were left unharmed. HPD said it's reviewing the doorbell camera footage as the investigation continues. So, yes, this is all a well and good thing, honestly. Just like with the Scottish teen girl, the government's not going to come back in and protect you. It is on you to go back and protect yourself. Now, why is this under things that I hate? I'll explain it to you. The reason I put this on things that I hate came from the politicization of this. So, the Tennessee Howler coming in and trying to make this into a Trump thing. Fly, you're going to die in a few minutes. After 2 men wearing ski masks and claiming to be police were shot and killed in a home in Southeast Houston on Friday night. It was only a matter of time. Trump's mask Gestapo makes everybody unsafe. So I actually replied to this, and I got some very, very angry replies back off of this because, you know, if you try to let facts get in the way of good narrative, then the people who are trying to spread the narrative get really, really mad. But I responded to this and said, surely you have evidence that these people were associated with Trump. I bet since you released the names, we can just look them up, right? Obviously, we can't go and look these up. If KHOU released the names, 4chan would already have their criminal records out here and everything else about them out in the open, and we could see that, no, this was not a Trump thing. But, you know, we get, that's not the point. How do you know? This person put me on a list. No one has made that accusation. You're missing the point. No, I'm not missing the point. And then this person put me on a list of bigots, racists, and incels, which I blocked this person on the block because I have 0 people blocked on X at any given point, because everybody should have access to my thoughts at any given time. But if you do the temporary block, it takes you off of any list that they put you on. And, you know, when socialists start making lists, then we have major problems. We have things like what happened in early 30s Germany when socialists start making lists. And the other person, they're making a point on why Trump's civilian enlisted officers, which they're not, ICE is not civilian enlisted officers, should not be masked. They also don't have any necessary equipment that allows civilians to identify them. It breeds mistrust and violence. Here is the reality of this entire thing. This is not a Trump thing. Now, I myself actually disagree with the ICE agents being masked. I do. But a random criminal going into a home and pretending to be a cop to try to get entry to the home, that is a scam that goes back as long as there have been cops. You get a relatively realistic looking badge from a Spirit Halloween. You get a nice uniform. You can get police on a patch on the back of a vest. Anybody can go out and make themselves look like a cop. I mean, the dude that shot up the congressman in Minneapolis was dressed up as a cop, acting like he was out to serve a warrant. This is a scam that goes back as long as there have been police. But now people are coming out here using this one, and they don't report on this normally unless it's something they can go back and use to try to make political points with. And that's where I get mad about something like this. This is why this lands on stuff that I hate. If it hadn't been, I mean, this same thing would have gone and happened without the mass ICE raids, which again, I disagree with in its entirety. The government should have to identify themselves no matter what. I get why they're doing it. I don't have to agree with it to understand, because I know that the activists among us are going to go back and dox anybody who is in ICE and try to get them protested outside of their houses and make their families afraid. That's why they're masking. But a big part of the problem is the fact that we're in this situation that they have to, because the activists out there are doing so. But no, this is an old scam. I'm willing to bet that there were criminals in Jerusalem in the first couple decades AD who were dressing up as Roman centurions and knocking on people's door and saying that they had the right to come in because they were Romans. I bet you it goes back further than that. As was pointed out in the Discord when I first posted this story. No, this is a scam that goes back as long as there have been police. Alright, and the last one here on things that I hate. The DOT moves to clear the road for self-driving trucks. As we're sitting here trying to get more people employed at this point, which we talked about earlier, talking about the immigrants losing their H-2B visa status, or not being allowed to get a new H-2B visa, opening up these jobs for more Americans. We have the opposite side of companies like Freightliner trying to make the entire thing self-driving so we can eliminate more American jobs. Look, I know progress comes along no matter what. I understand that. I get that. And as these jobs progress, then new jobs are going to come up. I mean, people said that the car was going to put all the horse farmers out of business entirely. But the market's adapted. People still got jobs. I am never going to be comfortable with our current technology traveling next to a semi-truck that's self-driving without a driver. I'm just going to put that one right out there. 40 years from now, I might be comfortable with it, but with our current level of technology, no. I don't want to be anywhere near that. I will stop driving on the interstate. The Trump admin is beginning to work out iron out challenges to an eventual nationwide rollout of automated vehicles, including commercial trucks. In a request for information published on Friday, the DOT's Office of the Assistant Secretary for Research and Tech seeks feedback over the next 60 days from the trucking industry, technology developers, operators of automated driver systems, fleets, transportation agencies, and researchers on the data and research needed to support full deployment. OSTR intends to enhance the current understanding of the technical, data, and resource needs to improve the ability of a software-driven AV system to operate and interact with other road users and infrastructure safely and efficiently on a scale on roadways across varied U.S. geographies and operational design domains, the office stated in the announcement. This understanding will help the OSTR develop a research agenda to facilitate nationwide AV development. The office emphasized the RFI will not cover safety topics, which the DOT's National Highway Traffic Safety Admin and Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration already have regulatory jurisdiction. DOT began the groundwork towards autonomous trucks during the first Trump admin, culminating in an AV comprehensive plan published just days before the admin left Washington in 2021. Little progress was made during the Biden admin on finalizing a regulatory framework. So, I'm not going to be one of these, I'm not a conservative, so I shouldn't say conservative, but I'm not going to be one of these conservatives that say, don't be taking our jobs. Progress needs to stop because of this. I understand that you can't stop progress and technology, and it's going to come eventually whether I like it or not. I dislike the fact that it's forced on us, and I remember the Will Smith I, Robot movie, where it was actually Will Smith got in trouble for turning off his self-driving in the car. I don't want it to be something that we all have to have. For people that want it, I want the option to be there for self-driving. And I'd like the technology to support it if the option is there. I don't want them to be unsafe in their full self-driving. I want them to be safe in their ability to do so, but I want those of us who enjoy driving to actually have the opportunity to do it as well. As far as trucking goes, I mean, if you're somewhere down in the desert in Texas, in Arizona, in the Great Plains, Nebraska, things like that, during the summer, I don't see a big problem with it. Maybe a major thunderstorm or tornado might make some issue with it, but I don't think the technology is there, especially to deal with roadways in a Wisconsin winter. And we might get there in my lifetime. I don't think we will. I don't think we're ever going to get, in my lifetime, to full autonomous delivery driving on a commercial vehicle size scale. Like, drones are one thing, but full-on autonomous driving, 80,000 pound vehicle with completely driverless, I don't think is a in our lifetimes thing. I could see, like they do with trains, where they have basically a night watchman in the truck with a dead man switch, who can also come back and take over in the middle of a blizzard in Wisconsin and still drive the vehicle when road conditions get bad. But I think we are at least a century away from full self-driving. Full autonomous, no driver in the vehicle whatsoever, complete remote control. I think that is a ways off. And by that point, we might all be in the pods serving the AI in the Matrix. So, that's my take on that. I'm not ready to come back and see these yet. And again, I don't think that our technology is there for it, but we will see what happens with this. With that, I'm out of material and I'm hungry. So, it's oatmeal time for me. Where's my outro music? Storms have knocked the power out of my computer more than once, so everything is missing and changed and nothing is set up the way that I wanted it to be. Good turnout today, though. Oh, we got double music going back here. I know that'll irritate Vaughn. All right. Anyway, we're out of here. We're done. I'm hungry. Thanks so much for being patient with me over this past month while I was gone, expanding my family. For those of you who are catching the tail end of this live, as soon as the live stream is over, this YouTube stream will be set to private. So any links that you have for this will not work as soon as basically we're done. Within the next few hours, I am uploading new upload of this, I'm going to take some of the intro music back out of here, and this will go onto a separate recording. You can find that in the Discord, which is linked in the description below, or over on X. I will let you go. This will also be on the audio platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I believe we're on Pandora, so you can go check us out over there. And come and hang out with us on the replay. You're not going to be able to see the video, obviously, but you'll hear all the audio, including all the stuff that I could not say, talking about the Minnesota shooter, Minneapolis shooter, and the things that were written on his/her gun. But with that, we're here, we're done, we're out of here. Take care. Have a fantastic day. We will see you next time. We'll see when that is. Hopefully, maybe we'll catch a catch-up stream before we go back on Thursday, but we'll know from there. We'll see what's happening with that and where we go. Hug your friends, hug your family, and we'll see you here next time for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. And until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.